up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Lue Reviews. Sorry, the show's a little behind schedule today. I'm still literally... I rendered out this file that we're going to be going over today, this video that we're going to be going over today. Has an audio file first instead of a video file, so I had to re-render it. So we're even later than I was hoping. I was literally editing right up until we started the show. I hope I got the dates on the end right. I don't think it'll matter. Just a couple of things as this is rendering. First of all, welcome to Lue Reviews, your home and your destination for critical thinking in the realm of the unexplained. I am your host, Luis Jimenez. Thank you all so damn much for being here. This has been a pretty crazy weekend. A lot of people have been asking me questions. A lot of people have been questioning the things I've been saying, primarily regarding this whole blackmail thing about Lue Elizondo. And I have really been putting this off because I just didn't want to go back over the footage. I didn't want to, seeing yourself go from true believer to just full-blown skeptic, not believing any of this stuff. It wasn't fun. It's not a fun process to be in my shoes now. And yeah, I had to cram in basically 10 hours worth of show into the last, day. So that way I watched all my episodes yesterday, and then today I was sitting there editing all the moments that I tried to find that were relevant to sort of telling this timeline, this tale, like what happened. And also, just to keep in mind, if you are a member of this show, you will have access to 5 episodes that are dropping at 5 o'clock. Okay, and all 5 episodes have to do primarily with what I'm going to be talking about today. All of the footage that I pulled today comes from these 5 episodes. It is our interview with Lue Elizondo. It's the interview after we had that interview with Elizondo. It is our interview with Stephen Greenstreet. And then, there we go. And then we have our interview or not our interview, but sort of our breakdown after what happened with Stephen Greenstreet, because right after that is when the blackmail happened and all of that shit. And then the very last video that I'm going to be releasing will be the last, or actually there's 2 more videos. There's the video right after the big phone home when I sort of lost my shit and called everybody out in the community. And then there is the very last UCR show. So I think those are 6 videos that I'm releasing at 5 o'clock today. If you're a member of this channel, you get access to that. So, and that's the way I'm going to do it. If you want to see those shows, you're going to have to pay me to see those shows. But they're there. They're going to be in there for full context. And I also tagged every single staff member at the New York Times when I decided to do this show. So if there is a member of the press that is watching this show and you want copies to all of the videos that I just mentioned, please email me at bigeasylu@gmail.com and I will get those videos to you one way or the other. So the reason why I'm doing this is a couple. I had, after our Richard Doty sort of encounter and how we made Richard Doty look like the liar that he is, we started of course, the community reacted to that. They were so sensitive and so hurt about questioning and maybe even definitely fooling Richard Doty into telling us a story that was complete bullshit just so he could confirm our belief systems. And then we highlighted immediately, yeah, we just lied to you, Rick. In that space, he had handlers. One of them who actually just dropped on a Danny Jones podcast today. And of course, I tagged Danny Jones in this show. I threw into that post from Danny Jones's show our 23-minute undressing of Rick Doty and who he really is. And from that, one of his handlers, that guy, what the fuck is his name? Let me look it up right now. We call him, his name is like Clint Dibble on Twitter, but that's not his real name. Let me see here. So, gosh, dude. Twitter's the worst, man. Like, finding shit on this site is so hard now. I don't know what the hell happened, but like, it's so silly. Okay, there it is. So, George Howard at Cosmic Tusks, I guess is his other handle. And George is a handler for Rick. And George, here, let me just actually play the clip because I edited it together. So I heard George in another space say this about me. And this is kind of one of the reasons why I prompted to do this episode today, was because of this moment right here. And I'm going to switch to the old Lue reviews. Everybody's favorite. Let me adjust the screen, guys. Give me 1 second. There we go. Also on Friday, just so you guys know, we're going to have, I'm going to look at it right now. We're going to have the Krishley, who is the young woman who is breaking down and embarrassing the fuck out of Ashton Forbes. So come check that out Friday. That'll be a really fun show. Breaking down all of the wonderful, work that she's done, matching clouds and graphics and pointing out 1 billion% for the 1 billionth time that these videos are fucking fake. Like, I don't even know why we have to go this far, but this conspiracy theory has reached the highest levels and people actually believe and are propagating this. And Ashton Forbes is making a lot of money off of this. Don't get it fucking twisted. He really is. He's making a lot of money telling and spinning this bullshit. And he said that he's going to sue anybody that calls him or says that the MH370 video is bullshit. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it's fucking bullshit, Ashton. It's fucking fake. You're a fake. You're a liar. Come sue me. We live in the same state. You've already tried suing the city of San Diego because you didn't want to wear a mask during the height of COVID, and you lost that fucking case and got thrown out. So please come at me. I really honestly don't give a fuck at this point. I really don't. You guys want to sue me for the things I'm saying? Go for it. But you're not going to do that because then you'd have to go to court and actually prove what I'm saying is wrong. And you guys can't do that. Not Ashton Forbes and certainly not fucking Lue Elizondo. And I'm going to show that today. But this video is what prompted me, one of the main reasons. So let's listen to this. Oh, wait. Got to turn the volume up, right? At least for me and for you guys. I see it's totally on mute. All right. Let's try this one more time. Well, of course, without music, right?
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Okay, but let me help out. Let me help out Lue because I actually... I watched Lue from the beginning, and I saw the whole thing unwind, and so I have there's a little piece of my heart that goes out.
So he saw it, piece of his heart.
He has a fair question, Rick. I mean, I understand that you want to be careful what you say about anybody, but he had an experience. Lue was all in on disclosure. He was trying to help the process. He had a great tremendous roundtable of people. I mean, that was historic in some ways.
A few moments later.
I got a question for you guys, and I'm a serious question.
So
allegedly,
this was the next day in a space, right? I believe it was the next day. I got the dates here. 4/27. He said, "Oh, my heart goes out to him. I totally, I saw what went down, and he's got a valid question, Rick." And then on the 1st.
I got a question for you guys.
He changes his tune.
Serious question. So allegedly, now I'm starting to not trust Lou Angeles at all. So he claims that the Lue Elizondo blackmailed him and all these horrible things, right? And but has he ever actually proven that? And has Lue Elizondo, you know what I'm saying? Thinking about it, what if he made all that up? What if none of that happened and he just made that up? Do we have?
I see you guys. I know. Sorry.
Anything he says
volume
is true.
You know what? Should we go back? Let's play it again because we're still rendering. Sorry, guys. I thought your volume was up. It was just on low. So let's do it again. I apologize. Again, I've been editing all day and I had to scramble to put the show together. But here we go.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Okay, but let me help out. Let me help out Lue because I actually. I watched Lue from the beginning, and I saw the whole thing unwind, and so I have there's a little piece of my heart that goes out to that guy. So he has a fair question, Rick. I mean, I understand that you want to be careful what you say about anybody, but he had an experience. Lue was all in on disclosure. He was trying to help the process. He had a tremendous roundtable of people. I mean, that was historic in some ways.
Historic in some ways.
A few moments later.
I got a question for you guys, and I'm a serious question. So allegedly, I'm starting to not trust Lue Angeles at all. So he claims that the Lue Elizondo blackmailed him and all these horrible things, right? But has he ever actually proven that? And has Lue Elizondo, you know what I'm saying? Thinking about it, what if he made all that up? What if none of that happened and he just made that up? Do we have any evidence that anything he says is true?
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
So, what happened, Eric? Like, why'd you change your mind all of a sudden? Oh, that's right, because you got to spin your web of bullshit to all of the people that you lied to make sure that Rick Doty doesn't look like a complete dickhead that he is. That's what happened. And so that was one of the things that I had heard in a space. Let's see here. Untitled. Why is it untitled? Okay, good. At least it rendered. Don't care if it's untitled. All right. So that was one of the first things I heard. And then, of course, there's been also a ton of spaces where people who are new to me, they don't know who I am. They've never heard of the Big Phone Home. Like just the folks that are unfamiliar with my work, and they hear me come into these spaces and they talk about me being blackmailed and being manipulated and being used by contractors at the very least of the United States military, but people that have been in the New York Times selling this fantastical stories with these 3 UFO videos, 2 of which came back as very mundane things, and the 3rd is being worked on in a lab at the Aero office. And it took the reason why I'm releasing the 5 episodes, 6 episodes, whatever it is because it took about a month to really accept this information. But more importantly, it took me after our Stephen Greenstreet, well, you know what? I'm not going to talk about it now. Let's play this video because it's pretty long. It's about an hour and something worth of footage. And we're going to start with the moment. And this is the interview. And to preface this interview, again, and I'm sorry for people who've heard this story before out there. I apologize, but I have to make sure that I make this as crystal clear as possible. Right before this show, Luis Elizondo was in our pre-lobby, and he looked miserable to be there. He did not look happy, and I wasn't sure if it was because of us or because of something else. And I was kind of picking at him a little bit, trying to poke him and see what's going on right before the show came on. And right before that happened, or before we went live, he was mentioning, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he was upset because of a bunch of people that were fucking with him, and a few of them were felons. And I was like, felons? That sounds awful. Why don't you say who they are, Lou? Tell me who they are. And so that way I know who to avoid. But we couldn't get to that part. He was very hesitant to name names. So, I didn't want to push him. And plus we had a show to start. So we start the show. And this question that's about to be asked by Rather Be Squidding is a question we sat on for a year, maybe a little longer, because I knew this rumor was confirmed to me by Jeremy McGowan and then the Black Vault. And then when I saw Tyler Rogaway sort of call this sock puppet out and name it like something along the lines of, all right, Lou, it's time to go to bed kind of thing, because he was harassing people through this fucking sock puppet account. So I had 3 different people either directly or indirectly telling me that this sock puppet account, Faceless Bureaucrat 1, was his. And that was a year before we asked this question. I didn't want to ask the question. We had a team meeting about it. And the question was simply, does that sock puppet account belong to you? Do you have sock puppet accounts? And the reason why I didn't want to ask the question was because at the time I was like, look, man, we're not 60 Minutes. Does this really matter? Let's say it is his. Like, if he says, yes, I got sock puppet accounts, is that going to stop legislative dollars being funneled through, Congress to create a new office? No. I still believe that today. But more importantly was, well, if I ask him this question, there's only one good answer. Maybe two. The first is no. I do not have sock puppet accounts. The second is yes, I do have sock puppet accounts. And to be honest with you, it was a mistake. And I probably shouldn't have done it. But in moments of anger and frustration, I can't say things with the blue check market account that I can with a sock puppet. Those are really the only two answers you could have given that might make that okay. Because again, when you go to his pinned tweet, and I can't because I'm blocked, go to Lue Elizondo's pinned tweet and look at what he has there. I will always tell the truth. I will never lie to you. I will always fight for disclosure. All of these attributes that sound really fuzzy and warm, and you hear he's a veteran, he's got a flag behind him, and there is this essence to him where you cannot fucking question him. And then another reason why I didn't want to ask the question was because I knew that question would piss off our audience, and it would also probably lose my access to him. Now, flash forward to this moment right here where it happens. We had done, I believe, 2 or 3 interviews before we got to this one. And I didn't even ask for this interview. Jennifer Elizondo reached out to me to interview him because she told me he's going to be going away for a long time. And you're one of the shows he wants to be on before he does. Cool. Okay, well, we've kind of asked him everything we're going to ask him. And so when I went back to Rather, and I was like, I think we should ask him the sock puppet question. He was like, fuck yeah, I think we should too. And before, obviously, Lou, before anybody knew what we were doing, I told Rather, I was like, okay, because it's my show, and this is nothing like, again, as I release more old UCR episodes, you will see, it doesn't matter if it's Lue Elizondo, John Ramirez, Melinda Leslie, Richard Doty, any cadre of guests that you can think of, I always treated with a fun, light humor. That was the show. That's what I did. I bring my acting skills and my improvising skills, and I had applied them to this show. So I was like, I'll play good cop. So if it gets weird, I'll make sure the show moves along, and he won't think that it's me attacking him. He already doesn't like you, Rather. So fuck it, let's do it. And Rather, of course, was down. And the beautiful thing about Rather is once I gave him that okay, he took over. The questions he asks here are amazing, but the reaction to the questions is what I really, really, really want to make sure you understand. Again, this is a counterintelligence veteran that has admitted he was hired to use those skills in the UFO community back in 2008. What's been going on since then between 2008 and 2017? Because it sure as fuck wasn't ATIP. That was a hobby. That wasn't funded. It wasn't an official government program. That's fact. So you weren't really working on that. What the fuck were you doing? So let's play this clip. And sorry, guys, if I'm not, again, I know I've been really bad with the chats here as far as like looking at them and reading them. I'm here by myself. So if I get to them, I will. If I don't, I won't. Let's listen to this interview. Rather, did you have another question before we get to that?
Oh man, I got a ton of questions.
I know, go for it,
one
man.
question around, kind of antagonistic behavior. There's a lot of rumors that you had a secret Twitter account and you would kind of semi-publicly post under a different name. Can you confirm or deny? Have you ever, posted or interacted with UFO Twitter from an account other than the official Lue Elizondo account?
I'm an intel guy. I mean, I collect intel,
yes?
man. I mean,
I'm an intel guy. And yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like, we both laughed. But that, again, in real time, sometimes you just like, okay, all right. But yeah, let's keep going.
it's not a yes or a no, but there's a lot of things that people do to confirm and deny information and to see if something's real and legit. So, I'm not saying that I did, or maybe friends of mine had, or family members had, but collecting intel is what I do. That's always been what I've done. And so, people are I'm not going to confirm or deny if I've had another account on Twitter. I mean, first of all, I don't like social media. I do.
That's a lie.
Social media from my Twitter account, which is the only thing I have. I don't have Instagram or anything else. Simply because people are willing to take the time to write something. I think they at least owe eyes on it, right? So if someone's going to take the time and say, "Hey, Lou, I really liked what you did," or "Hey, Lou, that really sucks what you did." Honestly, there's a couple times where people have called me out, thankfully, because I may have made a mistake. As everybody knows, right on my Twitter page, one of my tenets is I will always hold myself accountable.
Really?
And there's been, I think, 2 or 3 instances where I've said something and it either wasn't taken properly or maybe I miscommunicated it. And within 24 hours.
Keep a pin on that. Keep a pin on what he just said there. Let's see if he's going to be accountable for the recreation of this timeline again.
Being brought to my attention, I readdressed it. I said, "Oh, hey, mea culpa, guys. Great catch, great call. This was my intent. Apologies if it was lost in translation or if I made a mistake to something. That wasn't my intention. And here we go." So I think that's one of the ways to hold yourself accountable is through listening to people, even with dissenting views. Again, not the hecklers out there and people that are just trying to cause drama and trauma. I don't look at those. But people who have honest questions or comments or concerns, I look at those.
What about any other follow-up questions, rather, before we get to our game?
I appreciate that. Yeah, let's move on to the game.
Okay, like, again, I'm feeding rather to be like, was that? I mean, that was a weird answer. It was a non-answer, except for the part where he's like, "Well, I'm an intelligence guy. I always hold myself accountable. If I make a mistake, a couple people called him out." And there was like one article that he put out that was complete bullshit from The Sun, of all places. And he had to retract it because it was so bad. So yeah, to be fair, he has done that. Less than a handful of times. But watch what happens here.
I think I got what I wanted.
All right, unless you got a question, Michael.
Well, I do have one, but
go for it.
Go to the game and then we can hit that one after.
Honestly, it was the best thing that could have happened to this episode for Michael's mic to not be working, because what's happening right now is he's stewing, and he's getting very upset at the fact that we even dared to ask him that.
Totally up to you.
Yeah, your mic's still a little funky.
Really?
Yeah, but this is what happens when you don't do shows in 10 months, Michael. All right, like, get it together. All right, so Lou,
Can you hear me?
it comes in and out a little bit. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening. But all right, let's see what you
Hey,
get.
real quick. Hey,
go for
let
it.
me.
So now he's pissed. Now he's upset. And he wants to add on even more to hit the non-answer he just gave. We were ready to move on. Thank God Michael's mic fucked up. And he could stew on that for a minute.
You know, let me go a little further on this, and let me give a little bit more direct answer to
Please do.
Look, there's things that I do because I have that blue little check mark on my name. That actually hinders me from doing a lot of things that I may want to do. If I want to get on Twitter and ask somebody about purple curtains, you know, if I do that, it gets really tough. So it's common for a lot of people to use anonymity in order to research things. I'll ask you the question rather. You know, some people.
I'm trying to give you a little more volume, guys. Give me a second.
Let's face it. I doubt that your real name is Rather Be Squitting, yet you use it because it's helpful and effective. Because you're not quite comfortable providing out your personal information. I get it, and I respect that. But
yeah, purple curtains. If I want to go out there talk about purple curtains, I think you could do that with your blue check mark, bud. I think you could do that with your blue check mark. But the reason why he said purple curtains is because he couldn't think of a good example. You know, if I want to go out there and call somebody's mother a fucking dickhead, I can't do that with the blue check mark. That's completely different than purple curtains. I think you could say, hey, I think you should hang purple curtains. That would look great in your house from the Lue Elizondo account. Nobody would bat an eye other than, wow, look at that. Lue's into interior design. Cool. But the truth is he's got sock puppet accounts, so he can react in much different ways than purple curtains.
The same holds true for other people. The same feelings and concerns and fears you may have is precisely the same concerns and fears that other people have, and probably including myself.
That's a great, I mean,
Yeah,
I feel like it's a soft yes, but
Soft
I think it's
yes.
a great answer, man. And yeah. It's a soft yes. I said it right there. Sounds like a soft yes, and now I'm kind of trying to process what that means. Well, that's a great answer, I guess, you know, because you're using other accounts to vent your frustrations. I suppose that's kind of a human thing to do. I can kind of understand that, and you'll see sort of the hoops that I jump through, and at some points even rather jumps through, not just this episode, but the following episode. I mean, we gave as much room to be like, okay, that's human. That's a human reaction. But it's what happens after this that really we had to stew on for a little bit before it kind of hit us. What were you going to say, rather?
Well, yeah,
Hopefully it's not a crime, right?
No, it's definitely not. Definitely not a crime. It's definitely not a crime to have sock puppet accounts. Crime, that's for sure.
But there is kind of a weird dynamic going on in UFO Twitter, and I think that, you know, there was an account that was almost an open secret that was yours, and I'm not sure if this one actually was yours or not, but there's a lot of people on, you know,
and so now because of that response, now that gives Rather an opportunity to be like, okay, let's go in a little more. So again, Michael's mic really going bad is what created that moment, because I gave Rather the opportunity again. I gave him a fucking layup after that first answer to be like, okay, you want to dig in some more? Like, let's ask him to face of miracle. You got to do that one. And it wasn't until this part where Rather was like, okay, fuck it, let's go.
Reporters who would kind of clamor and onto what that would say, and kind of, you know, rallying cry, and it seemed to kind of stoke fires of division rather than, you know, uniting people. And you know, frankly, I found that a little disappointing if that account really was yours. But you know, I do understand.
Well, I don't know. You haven't asked me, and let me ask you this:
bureaucrat one or something like that.
I see that on there right now. That is not me right now. I'll tell you that. That is
it was. That
account
was deleted, I think, in November, and someone took it over. So that account that's posting right now definitely isn't you.
This is where Rather cooks right here. No. I'm familiar with that one, but that's a reopened account. We're talking about the one that was shut down. That's the one we want to know about. So again, amazing move by Rather.
But so let me ask you another question, if I may, Rather. If I called your mother a hooker, how would you? And I'm being honest. I'm not saying that. I'm asking.
I mean, look at Rather's initial response to that was, like, that's all you can do. The point of that question is to throw you off, to make you go, oh, fuck, did I just say something wrong? He called my mom a hooker. He's using an analogy, calling my mother a hooker. What's happening? It's meant to sort of fumble you, but it didn't fumble, Rather. It didn't fumble, Rather.
Hypothetically, if I were to call your mother a prostitute, or
hooker, prostitute,
partner, or your kid, how would you feel about that?
Yeah, I would not like that. I hope you don't
Now,
make those implications.
No, and I'm not. By the way, for the record, I'm not saying that. But I'm asking you a hypothetical that you now being out. Okay, let's say Rather Be Squiddy was your real name, and everybody who you were, and people were calling your family people disparaging things like that, knowing that it wasn't true, and knowing that you couldn't come out and defend yourself publicly because it would never stop. The moment you feed the seagulls, more and more seagulls come. Right. The moment you feed the trolls, more and more trolls come. So I'm asking. Hypothetical, how would you deal with that? A, to set the record straight with facts and data. Okay.
Why would you have to set the record straight that your mother's not a hooker? What facts and data would you provide to prove that? But okay, we'll keep going with this analogy.
At the same time, trying to continue to facilitate that type of behavior.
People do make disparaging comments on me all the time on Twitter. And
all the time.
Personally, I think
Rather got all the. I mean, you should have seen how much hate Rather got after our first John Ramirez interview. Again, where I'm playing good cop, he's playing inquisitive bad cop. The amount of vitriol that I got was really bad, but what Rather got was next level. There were people looking for who he was, where he lived, what his profession was. And I mean, they'd already done that to me. But now after that, like in this moment here, this is where all of that hatred for our show really starts ramping up. So this idea like we don't get this either is false. We don't have to respond to it from alternate accounts because we didn't at the time have a blue check mark. It didn't matter. I mean, at the time I probably had like 3,000 followers or something like that. Like people talked shit to me all the time. And especially if they had no followers or 100, I'd be like, dude, I'm not even going to waste my time with you. I'm punching down, you know? And so to hear this guy be like, he's so petty. He's so petty. He's got to respond to every hater out there. And he can't do it with the blue check mark. So he can't show us who he really is with the blue check mark, but he can show us who he really is through these multiple sock puppet accounts. And guess what? Mick West has a file of them. John Greenwald has a file of them. Stephen Greenstreet has a file of them. I've got a file of them. So again, it's fact.
Best strategy is just to ignore it. You know,
ignore it.
So if I called you a traitor,
so if I called you a traitor, remember that word.
Understood. But if I were to accuse you of a crime and you don't address it, I call you. I say, you know what? I caught you yesterday breaking and entering into a neighbor's house, stealing everything that they have, and killing their dog and leaving. And by the way, I've got proof and evidence to show it.
It would depend on who's saying that, right? If it's someone of your stature, I probably would feel like I had to respond. But if it's just some anonymous person on the internet, I would not respond.
Right.
See, I disagree. I think an anonymous someone on the internet
he disagrees. According to Lue, it don't matter what your following is. If you're saying something that goes against his narrative, he's going to fucking beat you down with his sock account. And the thing is that his friends know which sock accounts are his. So when he does decide to attack somebody through one of these sock accounts, that's the signal that the rest of his boys it's the bat signal for all of the incels and 4chan dickheads. Hey, Keith Clore said something I don't like, and faceless bureaucrat one leads the charge on it. And then all of a sudden there's 50 people and they're dumping on Keith Clore and making lies about him when it comes to Monsanto. Same thing with Stephen Greenstreet. Same thing with Rather. Same thing with me.
Just as much voice as I do with the blue check or anybody else. This is where
no,
you
they
and I
don't.
disagree.
You've got
everybody,
100,000
every person in
followers.
your audience right now that's listening has just as much.
You've got 100,000 followers or some shit like that. Why does the guy with 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, why does he matter to you? If what you're saying is true, if you're standing on truth, it shouldn't matter what fucking anybody's saying underneath that truth. Because the truth will rise above that noise. But it doesn't. And that's why he feels compelled to do shit like this.
Of an opinion and entitled to their opinion as you do, and as I do, and as everybody else. That's where I disagree. Just because you and I have a microphone in front of us doesn't make either one of us higher stature or more important. It makes us more of a target for sure and more susceptible to the hatred, but it doesn't make the sting or the pain go any less. And you know, maybe I'm a bit old-fashioned. I come from a long family of revolutionaries. My father was in the Bay of Pigs, and you know, I chose a career that tends to be a little bit, I guess, somewhat similar. But to me, you know, people are the most important aspect of any conversation. The entire topic of UFOs and UAPs doesn't mean anything if you don't have the conversation about people themselves and what it means, because ultimately it's how we deal with information as a species, which is going to dictate how we deal with the topic of UFOs. And therefore, I think everybody should be part of that conversation. Everybody's entitled to an opinion, and everybody's opinion should be taken equally until at which point it's proven that they're not, that they don't have equal voice because they're not interested.
He's interested in silencing the guy with 100 followers, or the journalist that dare question the lies that he's been spewing, or John Greenwald, or anybody. There's so many examples of this account attacking legitimate people. Thank you for the $2.22 donation, Blizzard. Thank you.
Interested in agitation. And again, let me say this. I'm not attacking you at all. Rather, I'm playing devil's advocate here, because you asked me a very direct question, and I think you deserve a very direct response, but also one that helps me explain my position on the topic. I think everybody is entitled to defend themselves, and I think it's terrible and repulsive when people can say things and you are expected not to defend yourself, especially your credibility when you've defended and fought for your country and people, friends of yours, have died for that privilege. I take that very seriously. When people accuse my wife or my kids of something, yes.
But see, here's the thing. Here's the contradiction. He doesn't believe that. Because when Manny 503 made his little documentary, he called me and Fessler and anybody else that Manny pulled clips from and tried to get us to copyright strike him. If you remember, Fessler leading the charge to get that movie taken down. And when Fessler reached out to me, I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. As much as I don't like that movie, as shitty as I might think it is at the time, and, you know, it should be improved. Me and Manny and I have talked about this. He's still got a right to make that movie, felon or not. If he's a former felon, he served his time, guess what? He has a right to make a fucking documentary. But he doesn't like that. He really doesn't like that. So he got Thomas Fessler to lead the charge on this bullshit. I told Thomas Fessler to fuck off. That is fair use. He's allowed to use my videos to explain his story. Should he be credited me? Yeah. But honestly, that shit doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. Pulling from my show. Go for it.
I take that very seriously. And that's part of the problem, I think, with society today. We don't have honor. We've lost that. Somewhere we've lost the fact that defending your loved ones and defending your friends and your family is something we should be doing. And anybody who takes those attacks, there should be consequences unless you have damn proof and evidence. And this is why we are in the situation we are in as a society, because no one is held accountable. No one's held accountable. And I personally think it's disgusting. I think this.
He wants Twitter trolls and journalists doing their job to be held accountable. All right. Thanks for the direct answer.
We are right now. And again, I'm not blaming you. I'm not attacking you here. Rather, I'm just giving you my honest feeling and my opinion from my heart. So
yeah, I'd just like to add, all the attacks that are on Twitter, anyone who's paying attention at all can see right through that, and that's obvious BS, all that stuff. So I commend you, and I can see how that would be, not make you feel great, and you'd want to respond. But yeah, it is BS in my opinion as well.
Here's what sucks is I know Michael. I wonder what Michael was going to ask, but his mic was fucked up. I know Michael, the brain that Michael has, if his mic was working, would have, I think, picked that apart. And that's why Mike was on the show. I'm so bummed his mic was not working properly, because then I came in here because I couldn't hear him. But when I was editing this and I was watching it over and over and over again, and I noticed that he tried to chime in there. I never asked Mike. He probably doesn't remember at this point. But I am curious to know what Mike would have said to this. Because he was, again, smarter than me. Rather and Mike were smarter than me. That's why I brought them to my show. So I could take my belief system and have it checked against two guys that are more fact-based than I was at the time. And so because of these two guys and everything that you're about to see, I flipped. And for good fucking reason.
I mean, look, we're humans. All of us are humans, and we're emotional.
I'm trying to justify this
by nature. And you can't control how
But again, I can't rip him
is going to react.
I'm the nice guy.
To something.
But this was confusing
an
for me.
Accusation or anything like that. And sometimes you just got to give them the room to scratch back. And I obviously do not understand this on your level, because I think a lot of people do put you on a pedestal, like you were saying earlier, and make you the face of this conversation. And it similarly happened with this show, where it was like, you have to, you have to defend this, or you have to do this, and it's like, no, I don't have to do that. I don't have to do any of that. If I choose to reply to something, I'm choosing to reply to something.
And right there, what I'm referencing to is the McGowan and Alex Dietrich squabble that they had online. That's and it plays later in here, but that was one of the pinpoints that made Sean Rash, Joe Mergia, and UAP Mike really attack my show, because I wasn't going to come out and support either McGowan or Dietrich. Dietrich's she's a grown woman. She doesn't need men to come to her rescue on Twitter. And that's what I told them. I was like, dude, look at her responses. She's okay. She's fine. And guess what? Lue didn't chime in either. But nobody jumped down his shit. Nobody called him a fucking asshole. Why? Because really, they just hated my show and were looking for any fucking excuse to badmouth it.
If I want to see something and how it plays out, then that's what we're going to do. We have a right to respond however we want to.
Lou, we're also, let's face it, we're a lazy ass society. So what happens is, a lot of times, when you hear something, impressions tend to become truth for a lot of people, because they don't have an alternative position to look at. So if you have one loudmouth that's out there saying constantly one thing,
when he says loudmouth, he means Stephen Greenstreet.
Counter that information with facts, then that actually becomes, to some degree, a social truth for a lot of people. The mere fact that you haven't set the record straight and corrected it, when someone says,
he's upset.
Lou made all this money with movies and movie deals and TV. First of all, I didn't make a penny, and I'm not part of that movie deal. So they can show.
I'm not part of that.
And second of all, as it goes with some of this other stuff, I haven't made a penny.
First of all, he did 2 episodes of television. Yes, reality television. It's not network by any means, but it's a 4-figure sum per episode. So, it's not chump change. You were hired and employed by TTSA. Nobody knows the actual finances, who got what through that, what looks like techno scam. I mean, you were living in California when I met you. You were down in Encinitas, and I know for sure to rent an apartment down there ain't fucking cheap. Or did you buy a house down there? I don't know. We heard he always gives us this story how he lived in a trailer for 2 years with rats and mice in the cold, like a fucking, like a pauper or something. Please, sir, give me some more, and then you talk to McGowan and he's like, yeah, it's not exactly accurate. I saw the shed. The shed or the trailer.
And what I did with the show, I was living in a trailer with my wife for 2 years in an aircraft hangar with rats and mice.
So was it an aircraft hangar or was it a trailer?
Eating the goods that we've collected our entire life in baby pictures are as a married couple for 30 years. But people don't know that because that side of the story is never told, right? That level of sacrifice. And so people assume
it's been told many times by him. Many times. It has definitely been told.
Oh, well, yeah, it must be true because Lou made all this money. No,
he said that on my first interview with him.
Lou did make all that money, but people will spout it off as truth. And that truth becomes, for them, winds up getting feet. And sometimes you have to nip it at the bud. Otherwise, people are lazy. They don't do their homework. They don't know how things really work sometimes. And so when someone gets up and just says something, well, okay, that sounds reasonable to me. And that becomes the truth, right? And this goes from being
That's not how it works. That's not how truth works. That's not how facts work. I mean, just look at Ashton Forbes in the last few days. Look at what the SALT conference, weirdly enough, just dropped David Grush from their conference schedule. I wonder why. I wonder why he's not speaking at SALT now. Maybe it's because he's actually taking a meeting with Arrow instead of going to the fucking SALT conference. I don't think that's what he's doing. But apparently he's too busy, I guess, to go to SALT. Or SALT saw what happened over this weekend and went, okay, we cannot put this guy in front of a group of investors when he won't even go to the congressional building that his lawmakers, colleagues, and fucking friends have told him to go to multiple times.
Personal truth becomes assumed as a universal truth. So back to our conversations between universal truths and personal truths. That personal truth now somehow gets feet and becomes now a universal truth. And so if you never correct the record on that, then within...
And that's how we got Ashton Forbes. He was platformed and put up, and his bullshit was turned into truth, and now it's a fucking monster that nobody can kill. It's almost impossible. Almost. But we see the fucking nightmare it's created when it comes to just fucking bad information. But a lot of people in this room right now love platforming him. They love it because they know when he's on the show, they're going to get a few hundred more people to come through there. Fuck what he's saying. Let's just get the clicks and the fucking rev, dog. Let's get the attention. Let's say something controversial like suing the city of San Diego because you're an anti-vaxxer. Or saying, I'm going to sue everybody who calls MH370 a fake. It's a fucking fake. Come at me, bro.
A few short period of time, no one knows the truth.
Well, but I mean, if we're going to the sort of this road,
Mike
being
is
on the
not
right
getting in
side
there.
of history, down this road of being on the right side of history,
Sucks.
I think once those things come to the surface and are known by everyone, all of this noise goes away. It doesn't matter. It's a valid.
And guys, I don't want to split the fucking audience, anti-vax, vax. It doesn't matter, man. You choose whatever the fuck you want to do. Okay? But when you're suing the city because during the height of a pandemic, when a lot of people are confused as to what the fuck is going on, and the health department and everybody in the fucking world is going, maybe just put on a mask when you go into a store. Like, you're suing the city over that. You don't have to get jabbed. Don't. I don't give a fuck. Play fucking Russian roulette with a loaded gun. Like, go for it. You don't trust medicine? Fine. Fine. See how far that gets you. Don't vax your kids. See how far that gets them. Fucking should do whatever you guys want. Like, this isn't.
It does not add to the conversation.
Great point.
It's immediately irrelevant. So with
that's
that
what
said,
keeps me going. That's exactly what keeps me going.
Let's move on to I think this will be a fun game to sort of help.
So I also wanted to include this little game here because honestly, I thought this was the best part of our interview. And to me, it's one of the best moments in any interview with Lue Elizondo because for the first time in the history of a Lue Elizondo interview, he could only answer with one word. Yes, stick with it, let's move on, or bullshit. Let's watch this. This is great.
Kill you or help kill ufology a little bit. Okay, so the name of the game is called Stick With It, Let's Move On, or BS.
And by the way, he had stated a few days earlier in a Kurt Jai Mungle interview where him and Cahill were drinking apple juice out of fucking beer bottles. Weirdest fucking thing ever. He had mentioned about killing ufology. And when I heard that, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of with that. Because in my brain, when I think of ufology, I think of cattle mutilations, hybrids, lizard people underground alien bases, 20 and back. Like, when I think of ufology, that's the first shit that comes to my brain. Stephen Greer and his CE5 bullshit. And I'm like, yeah, I can get down with that. So that's why I wrote these questions. They were literally softballs for him to fucking kill ufology. And what does he do? What does he do?
All right, so that's how you have to answer the topic that comes up. Stick with it, let's move on, or BS. So let's start with a big one. You ready? Roswell.
Stick with it.
And here's the thing: his like attitude got a lot better for this game, and the rest of the interview, like, we were good. We were fine. I felt like he actually lightened up, especially after this game. Cattle mutilation.
Let's move on.
Alien abductions.
And by the way, let me count. Let's move on for now.
What?
Yes. Good. Okay. That perfect.
I like the
alien
answer.
Abductions.
Let's move on.
Okay. Underground military bases.
For now.
Alien bases.
He says for now.
Yes.
Wait, what? Did you say yes?
BS.
BS.
Oh, BS.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
All
okay.
All right. Yeah. Because I saw Rather's face too. Okay. Yeah. Okay. BS.
No,
Total
BS.
BS. Underground alien bases. All right. Grassroots UAP efforts like the Big Phone Home.
Stick with it, baby.
Yeah. All right. False flag operations.
Now, this false flag operation question was because in that interview, he was intimating and pissed off because at that time, Stephen Greer was putting out this false flag narrative through his movie Above Top Secret, in which the United States military is going to take all of the UFOs that it's built, reverse engineering from the alien crashes. So they've now got a fleet of UFOs, the military, and they're going to attack major metropolitan areas within the United States so that therefore that response will get us a space force that's able to fight these things. That's what Stephen Greer's fucking thing was. And so I'm asking him, false flag UAP narratives, fucking move on, right? Like bullshit, not even move, bullshit. Listen to this answer.
They've existed in the past, so let's move on only simply because.
Okay, let me clarify. UAP false flag narratives.
Well, we know that actually has occurred in the past. So
no, we don't. Tell me when that's occurred in the past. Somebody, anybody Anybody, tell me when that's occurred in the past.
You can't say BS, and I don't want to say stick with it because it's not occurring now. So that's why I say let's move on, simply because there's elements that have some truth in that in the past, but I don't see that right now as being, at least publicly. There's some resistance that I'm facing inside the government.
What does that
that's
mean?
Not your concern, and that's
there's resistance.
We have to deal with.
There's resistance you're dealing with on a personal level when it comes to false flag UFO narrative spun by Stephen Greer. That doesn't make any sense.
It's more obfuscation, I think, than it is false flag.
Got it. Alien hybrids.
Let's move on. We don't have enough data yet.
All right. Public UAP hearings.
Stick with it.
Yeah. Secret space wars on Mars.
BS.
Yeah, thank you.
Bullshit.
Susan Goff will be more transparent in the future.
Is there a layer even more harsh than BS by chance?
Oh my God. Okay, moving on. Pressure the Air Force to be more transparent.
Stick with it.
Dino beavers.
This is another terrible answer. Dino beavers had been thrown around. People had tagged that phrase with his name in it, that he knows exactly what dino beavers is. And if you don't, dino beavers was an animal that was seen on Skinwalker Ranch, and James Lukatsky and George Knapp wrote about it in their spooky book, Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. And so I asked him, dino beavers, right? Like, bullshit, right? Come on, buddy, bullshit, right? Listen to this answer.
I have no idea what,
Yes,
I know
you
what
do.
dino testing is on a car, and I know what a beaver is. And I know,
You don't know what
another
dino
kind
beavers
of,
are,
I
Lou?
even knew he was lying.
You haven't heard of dino beavers, Lukatsky, Skinwalkers at the Pentagon.
I know about the wolves and stuff like that, but not the dino beavers.
Okay. All right, so
I
pass.
don't
I'll give
know.
you a pass.
I gave him a pass.
Skinwalker Ranch.
You know why he didn't want to answer that? Because then it would have caused problems with Lukatsky and Knapp. And they are dancing around each other. At some point, those two worlds are going to collide. I'm telling you.
Stick with it.
Okay. And last but not least, who's Lou?
Again, the documentary, right?
I don't know. I never saw it.
Figured let's end it with a joke.
All right. Excellent. All right.
Yes.
And Rather's like BS, by the way.
BS, by the way. I would say BS.
Lower category.
Oh, I forgot to edit the part out. Okay, so now this is where right after this interview, I get
I would say BS.
Lower category.
I get this text message from him right here. Okay, this is the infamous text message that everybody lost their shit over. Okay, so because of his attitude at the beginning, before we went live, and after the prostitute hooker moment, I was like, let me reach out and just make sure we're cool. Because I don't know. So I write, hey, Lou, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to join our show today. As always, it's an absolute pleasure to have you. I know your time is valuable, and I'm extremely grateful that you chose to spend your afternoon with us. I couldn't help but notice that something may have been bothering you prior to the start of the show. I'm sure you've been extremely busy and possibly exhausted with everything going on. Please let me know if I had done anything to add to your stress, as this is the last thing I'd want to do. We have your back and offer any help to you in all efforts in which we can provide valuable contributions. Don't hesitate to ask me, and feel free to use me as a tool in your tool belt. Now, this is the line that fucking Panda and fucking Tupa and all these fucking idiots just love harping on. Again, like by this point, I had done 4 10-hour live streams in the name of UAP disclosure and transparency. When I spoke about, I said that, hey, use me as a tool in your tool belt, because we need as many tools in this belt as we can to fight and get transparency from the people holding it from us. I just considered it a pocket knife, and I'm a different tool in that pocket knife. I'm the political activist. I'm the show that everybody comes to when they want updates on the politics of UFOs. I helped organize the largest grassroots effort. I am a tool to help galvanize the community. So I have no shame when I said that. I still don't. And if I was working on a movie with somebody and say I was producing and I'm doing 15, 20 different things and that's in that producer role, I am a tool for that production to make sure that everything goes as we planned it. And the plan to me was, let's stop yelling at each other and start pointing up and yelling at them for more information. So I just wanted to point that out because a lot of people use that against me and they add this nefarious element like, oh, he was a tool, therefore he was purposefully working and doing this. Lue never asked me to do anything that I didn't just think of myself. He didn't have to. He never had to ask me to do a fucking thing. I just took it upon myself because I'd watch him do interviews and I'd say, oh, he said to do this thing. Okay, cool. Well, hey, let's implement that into our show or our activism efforts or whatever. Or anytime I do an interview, I could use those talking points that he's using to sort of express what we're doing here. So yeah, I was his friend. I was doing so much work for him for free. He never asked me to. I was volunteering this because I had the passion to do it. I had the interest. I had the curiosity. And God damn it, I had the talent. Still have the talent. There's 200 of you here. Clearly, you like watching this show at some level. I have a feeling half this audience really hate this channel. And hi, Lou. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Sean. Welcome. It's glad to be back, huh? Took me a while to really dive into this again, huh? I'm so happy you're here. And then I go on to say, and if it's any consolation, I think those 5 criminals you mentioned before the show are not being listened to on any substantive level. It's just a handful of empty souls screaming to be heard. To which he writes, thank you, hermano. Truly, honestly, I'm tired of all the BS Felon 5. Greenstreet, Greer, Greenwald, Third Phase, and all the other bullshit artists. It's very sad that this important topic has been regulated to fringe by all those hucksters and mentally unstable. Mentally unstable individuals. It's an absolute crime to humanity that they have been allowed to pilfer the pockets of people who have sacrificed so much. I guess I'm just a bit jaded these days. I take on people in our lifeboat only to catch them drilling holes in the hull and then hiding their hand. Since my dad and I were on your show, they even attacked him for being part of the Bay of Pigs. Maybe my grandfather was right. They don't deserve our efforts, sad face. Okay, done bitching. Need a good mojito and I will feel better. So when I read this, it shocked me. It really did. Because this is the first time I'd ever gotten a message like him. He actually named people. And I think he named people because in the conversation before the show, I'm like, dude, tell us, man, so we know. Who the fuck are these people? Greenstreet, Greer, Greenwald, Third Phase, and all the other bullshit artists. So the big thing here, and we'll get into what happens with these text messages, okay? So as of right now, in this timeline, and I'm putting dates, as you notice, at the top of the videos. This timeline, this is right after the show. I respond to him, man, I had no idea. Now, this is me. I show my girlfriend this text, and I'm like, babe, what do you think this means? And she read it, and she goes, well, it sounds like he's calling these guys felons. And she even was like, is Greenwald a felon? And she said Greenstreet too. I was like, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. But I just want to make sure you're reading it the same way I'm reading it. And so at dinner, I was thinking about this the whole way on the ride to dinner. Like, I'll never forget this shit. And when I got to the restaurant, I wrote this. I'm like, man, I had no idea about Green Street and Greenwald, Goof-On. I was like, I had no idea about Green Street and Greenwald. I was like, did not know those guys were felons. But then I go on to say, you know, Goof-On, Turdface, Steve Cambion, all those guys, in my opinion, at that time were a little nutty. I thought for sure that's who you meant. I hope I didn't insult you with that opening video. It was an effort of offering an olive branch between two people whose work I really enjoy. I would love to talk to you off the record and what you know, so if I can avoid it in the future, I know what to look for. And again, there was a video that I played with Stephen Greenstreet, made a video, like an ode to this 2017 sort of story in Elizondo, and it was really cool. So I played it at the top of the show just to be like, hey, let's mend these bridges, man. Because Greenstreet used to work with Elizondo on his team when he was doing the basement office. He was pro Elizondo. But then something's changed with him too. And he writes, not at all, not directed at you. Thanks for moving the needle forward and your continued vigilance. There's a reason why you're one of my last shows, smiley face. And then, of course, you know, I'll just zoom in on these for you guys so you can
A few moments
check
later.
them out.
Well, I feel like...
Okay, so this is the next show 3 days later. And again, all of these videos are going to be available at 5 o'clock for members only. So if you want to watch every single one of these episodes and really get the full picture of what we thought, what we were thinking, like our back and forths with this, become a member. Go check them out. They're going to be available at 5 o'clock.
Okay, so if I was trying to kill quote unquote ufology, right, like he said, or destroy it, I mean, I gave him these softball topics. I feel like you could easily stop adding to
420.
the, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess the
Speculation.
stigma or the speculation aspect of it. I mean, like, first one out of the gate, Roswell. He says, stick with it. Like,
Yeah,
if
I
you
like
wanted to
that
kill
one.
ufology, you know, if you wanted to kill ufology, we just been like, let's move on. Not bullshit, not call it bullshit, but let's just move on from Roswell. Like, that's the answer I was expecting from him on that, and we didn't get that. Cattle
And when, you know,
Go ahead. No.
I think you're making a good point here. No, I was going somewhere else. So finish the point.
When we go to cattle mutilations, he's like, let's move on for now.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, so we leaving. Why are we leaving cattle? I feel like we could take, for me anyway, I'd take that one right off the board. Again, if you're trying to kill ufology, that one should be let's move on, or maybe even bullshit, depending on what you're looking at, right? Alien abductions. I believe he said let's move on, right? For alien abductions.
Yeah,
For
I think
now.
so.
He didn't call bullshit on it.
Whispered for now.
and he just said there wasn't enough proof for it. UAP amnesty period. Easy, right? Yes, of course. Stick with it. Underground military alien bases. Bullshit. Thank you, God, that he answered bullshit. Grassroots UAP efforts like the Big Phone Home. Stick with it. Awesome. Seems pretty like a simple one to stick with, right? False flag. And this is the one where I was just like, ooh, man, I feel like this was the biggest softball to belt out of the park out of all of them. And that was the false flag operations. And what I meant by that was Stephen Greer's false flag operation narrative. Like that idea that the government is using this UAP story to attack its own citizens and then blame aliens when it's really us. I thought for sure that would have been bullshit, but it was a pass. Like he couldn't even answer it. He kind of stumbled around it a lot. And I was like, wait, when did...
Okay, now keep in mind, I've got this text messages as I'm saying these things. You know, like that's now making me look at things, especially his answers, in a much different way. And I'm still fighting this within this conversation, and I think you'll see that.
and then it got me thinking, well, when did UAP false flag narratives been launched on the American people? Can anybody think of one?
I mean, I think
Are we talking
that's
about Roswell?
I mean, all I can think of is
Project Blue Book.
Project Oxford. You know, like when the SR-71 was being seen, and they're like, "Oh, it's a UFO." That's the only thing I could think of. But
yeah, I mean, but is that a false
the
flag
Lusitania?
narrative?
Right.
Yeah, doesn't that
Like
start
they
as
weren't using the SR-71 to blow up Cleveland. You know what I mean? And blaming it on aliens.
isn't false flag? I mean, don't you kind of learn that? You learn that in journalism. It wasn't the Lusitania.
Thank you, UFO soldier.
Like, doesn't it go like way back? Like,
Thank
isn't
you.
that the
Seriously.
right? the shit
Yeah, but
that
this is saying
was
that we're gonna pretend that we're attacked by UFOs, right? And say that these UFOs are attacking us as a false flag, which
right. I don't think it's ever happened. I'm like, now I've got so many questions.
Here's one thing I'll say. Daniel Miller used to be on the show. He used to have his own show on my channel. And we've really had a parting of ways, Daniel Miller and I. And let me tell you, going back and watching this whole thing and clipping it and listening to his viewpoints and arguments again, yeah, something's not right there. I mean, maybe it's just his opinions that are making him say and believe those things, but some of the arguments and the viewpoints that he comes back with in this conversation, I can't highlight them here. We just don't have enough time. But again, if you want to watch, these shows are going to be available at 5:00 if you're a member. And at some point, we'll release them to the public.
About that one.
Right.
So alien hybrids. Let's move on. Thank God, right? I mean, I was hoping. I mean, but when he makes the point of like, hey, we share different genetic codes with a banana, different proteins. And
I will also be just a little fair. Damn, thank you. $20 donation. Thank you. I'll also be a little fair to Miller. Like, I was leaning towards Miller's side of this. Like, I was at least in my brain trying to do the dance, as I like to say. The UFO dance. I'm going to stick down the middle dance, and nobody's going to get mad at me. You can't do that dance. And if you do, you can only do it for so fucking long. You can't have that in this show, in this world. But many people continue to try and do it. They continue to try to do this fucking dance, and it's impossible. Stop doing it. I fucking see you. It's so obvious when people are doing this dance.
For all sorts of things. So, I mean, technically speaking, we could be a hybrid of the stars, which means that, yes, we could be a hybrid of any other extraterrestrial intelligence out there that maybe we've never even contacted with. Chances are we probably have some things in common. Carbon, oxygen, maybe, whatever. Go for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, Lue could have killed those aspects of ufology right there. And I think that is really telling when, during his and Cahill's 40-minute condescending to the ufology crowd, Cahill explicitly gives George Knapp a pass. Apparently, he's not part of ufology. Right. And Lue Elizondo's going on Linda Moulton Howe's show on Wednesday. So if
they're bitching and complaining on Kurt Mungo's channel about being, they hate ufotainment. That was the fucking phrase that they used to destroy my show. Every asshole from KMF to UAP Mike to Joe Mergio to Sean Rash, all of them were being like, you're ufotainment, motherfucker. Where'd you hear that from? Where the fuck did you hear that from? Oh, that's right. You heard it from Sean Cahill. Apparently, he thinks UFOs aren't allowed to be entertaining. Even though that's all they've been since the beginning of fucking time. But it's okay to go on Linda Moulton Howe's show, Spaced Out Radio, and all the other bullshit shows. That's not ufotainment for some. George Knapp is not ufotainment for some reason. That UFO podcast isn't ufotainment for some reason. Yeah, fuck it is. Yeah, it is.
Really against ufology, why are you supporting those two characters who I think are the biggest people in ufology?
Right.
That's fair.
Great point.
That's fair. Jane, any thoughts?
I
know Rather. You're fired up. Rather is fired up.
I was looking into
I'm very disappointed.
Yeah.
I'm holding back a lot of my fire. I am. But I was just looking at the history of the false flag. Just history goes back to the 16th century. So in general, I know that yes, he's. I mean, we don't officially UFOs weren't even real until 2017. So yeah, we could look back through all of history, right? Through like this new lens potentially, and so that I think that's what I was just kind of getting at. It's like he comes from counterintelligence. He knows all the layers, and so that could be where he's coming from. I don't know if he's pointing necessarily to Roswell being a false flag, but you guys know my theories about that.
Now we're all trying to figure it out, and this is the problem. We're all trying to like read into his words.
Right.
Yeah. I'm like looking at Wikipedia, like false flag word 50. I'm like, what does he mean by that? Yeah.
Gerald said something interesting, and I kind of want to hear rather ranted for a minute here. I want to give him the floor and tell us why, because I've never. This is after his mother got called a hooker, and he was upset. His mom was watching this show. Listen to what I say here. Rather as fiery. He's never been as fiery in our WhatsApp chat as he was this morning. Like he got a full weekend to digest what was said and what was going down on Twitter. And I feel like maybe you and I differ on this rather. And I think this is awesome because I think we can show people how to debate, how to have a conversation and be okay with disagreeing. Right. So clearly I was in my brain. I'm trying to justify Elizondo's actions because I'm like, hey, humans are getting human, right? People are going to make these kinds of mistakes. But it took me a really long time, and not a long time, really. It was after what happened next. You'll see. But it took me a while to go from, okay, wait a second. That behavior is just fucking wrong. In this case, I'm willing to sort of. Wait a second. Yeah, okay. I don't want to miss that. Like kill ufology. You shouldn't give a shit about that.
Exactly. And, I do want to say, I do, really appreciate what Lue Elizondo has done for the.
Listen to how much love rather prefaces his next comments with, as far as what Elizondo has done. Like what have we accomplished and what we helped with.
Like we wouldn't have the ODNI report, UATPF, or the AOI MSG, or the Gillibrand Amendment if it wasn't for him. And I'm very appreciative of that, and I think that he's doing a great job for that. But it's clear
this is where all hell breaks loose, because what you're about to hear right now is what Stephen Greenstreet clips and then tweets out, and then that's what prompted Lue Elizondo to say, "Hey, I'm never coming on your show again," basically, because this clip was taken out of context with all that preface. And then I put out there the full context of what Rather was saying, but it didn't matter at that point. Lou didn't care. He was looking for any reason. He'd never liked Rather to begin with. Let's be honest. But this moment here is what was Lue Elizondo's excuse to sever the relationship between us.
Me now that Lue Elizondo is deceiving and manipulating the community. I mean, 100%. He admitted to that on our interview Friday by using sock puppet accounts to manipulate and deceive us. Which, I mean, so how can you trust someone who is going to go and create a secret account? Not only just create a secret account and post on it, but he creates these in groups and out groups of people who are in on the secret, and then he shares this special knowledge with them and really gets them to go out and attack his critics. His we can't see what the tweets that he posted under these sock puppets anymore because they've been deleted. But, he made it seem like on the interview that he was just responding to people who are doing personal attacks on his family. That's a load of BS. There wasn't really any attacks on his family before this whole Who's Lou documentary started. And that was after he deleted his sock puppet account. He was using that account to attack people like Mick West and Stephen Greenstreet and, rile people up and stow division. And to what end is really my question now. Why he says that his audience isn't UFO Twitter. If his audience isn't UFO Twitter, why does he have multiple sock puppet accounts engaging with UFO Twitter and doing all of this nonsense? Like it just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm at a loss, really.
And right now, I think Rather has a good.
This was later in the show when we went back and forth on this, and this is where I start to really think about who Lue Elizondo is and what what just happened, basically.
Argument to be upset about people muddying the waters, the potential of that, and it's not even a potential. It happened. I mean, that's, and why are we doing that within the community? Why are we? Because if we go back and we reread these tweets, which we're going to do because they're there, they've been recorded.
And we did.
And it is a majority. I'm not even put a percentage on it, but let's just say a majority of these things are sowing division, are clearly, putting up problems where it's like, anytime my girlfriend starts, we have a very funny relationship, but I'm like, are you starting shit? Why are you starting shit where there's no shit? Like, why, there ain't no shit here. Why are you starting some shit? And I think that's what that sock puppet account was primarily used for. And I think you have a right to be upset about that. And maybe there is a good reason. Maybe there is. I can't think of many right now other than just humans are going to human. Sometimes people, and like imagine telling this story thinking that you were going to be welcomed with open arms, and it turns out more than half of them don't believe you because you're a government spook in their eyes. And so, you create these sock puppets account and hope that you can start winning some people over. Maybe it worked. But maybe the blowback to that was, creating this unnecessary army of really gross people that defend this to a point where it's like, damn, dude, are you trying to find my family and where I live right now? Kind of stuff. But
again, this is 2022. And up until this point, for the most part, people loved my show, but behind the scenes, I was getting attacked by UAP Mike. And when I release these 5 episodes, you'll hear me reference him a lot. Because he was one of the first guys to attack my show and my girlfriend and me. It's right here on video. So when and if you see me interacting with UFO Late Group, as he goes by these days, and when I point out his very public UAP Mike Boyle YouTube channel, now you know why. Seriously. Become a member and go watch the videos that drop in about 25 minutes. And you'll hear UAP Mike's name come up a lot. A lot. Because he was a fucking maniac behind the scenes. He was looking people up. He was taking fucking videos of DMs between people and then sharing them with other people so that they could go and look up information on me. And then you wonder why I fucking get so annoyed and so frustrated when I come into a space and this fucker is the co-host. But I understand a lot of you guys don't have context of who this person is. And to sit here and compare me and him as apples and apples, fuck you. You have no clue what a fucking terror this guy was. And just looking through all of this footage reminded me of that again. I'm telling you guys the truth. And there's more than enough receipts to show who UAP Mike and his wife, Cosmic Dahlia, really are. Because it wasn't just Mike, it was his wife too. Slip in the DMs and try to get you to say something that compliments her so when they don't like you, they could use it against you as you harassing her. You know how many times they've done that? but it seems to be all scrubbed out from your account there, Dahlia. I looked. I went through all your likes, not all of them, but I tried. I went through all your retweets. I looked for stuff on there. You've done a pretty good job at scrubbing all that fucking behavior. But it's out there, and people have experienced it. And you're not going to gaslight me because you've got no proof. Again, I've got 90 shows of receipts. And I've been very honest with my audience as far as what I was going through in every episode. And if you were a fan of UCR, by the end of this, you'll hear, I am a broken fucking man by the end of this video. Man, the people, I mean, you know, Goofon was in here a little while ago. That guy's his whole channel is to just challenging Lue Elizondo to a fight. Like, what are we talking about here? For charity? Who's going to fight you for, like, who's going to do that? Or Steve Cambion, you know, like, and here's the part that frustrates me about both of these guys is every once in a while, they actually have something kind of cool to say that has got some good data attached to it, but I'll never hear it or listen to it unless it's brought up in a Kurt Jai Mungle episode, you know, because you're yelling at people all the time and cursing at the top of your lungs and calling people liars or bitches or fakes or, you know, just using explicit language that you would never want thrown at you if you were trying to start a conversation. And if they're not responding to you, there's probably a good reason why, you know? So this is, both sides are guilty of this vitriol. Both sides are just as nasty. But I mean, like, I agree. I think you and I, especially, are probably going to get a lot of shit for this once this episode's over. We sure.
I know I got a lot of shit this weekend. I was defending Lue this weekend. That's the whole thing. Is like, I still, even after all of this, the things that I hang my hat on, and I don't want to call it I believe Lue, but if I was going to lean toward the side of the fence that I'm very much on right now, it's like I tend to believe that his intentions are just and true only because of his insistency, the letters that he's written, the lawsuits that he's bringing to the table. Again, the money that he's getting allocated through lawmakers. Like, if you don't think, if this lie blows up in his face, like a lot of people think it's gonna happen, dude, the repercussions of that, just not, let's forget about legally, just professionally speaking, he will never, ever, ever find a job with a pension that he's got now. He'll lose his health insurance. He'll probably lose his lawnmower and all this, you know, the land that he's got over there in Wyoming, is it? Or it's not Wyoming. Where is it? Is it Wyoming?
Yeah, Wyoming. But I mean, it seems like this is probably an orchestrated psyop by the government with Lue Elizondo at the helm.
What's the purpose of it, though?
Who knows? Exactly. That's the question.
And if you want to partake in those levels, awesome. Great. Welcome to the conversation. If you want to take your conversation to a different part of this phenomenon, then great. Awesome. Go have that conversation over there. But I think Ted's right. You got to read the room, you know? And if we want, I think if we want the entire world to take this as seriously as all of us do, it's going to have to come from PhDs. It's going to have to come from government. It's going to have to come from elected leadership. I'm sorry. That's just society. As much as that sucks, it's not going to come from a book. It's not going to come from one video or a leak. It's going to come from.
So that's not coming right there. That's what I sound like right now. I believe that back then. I believe that back then, before all of this happened. So there was a skeptical side of me that would see the George Knapps, the Court Bells, the Linda Moulton Howes, all of these people busting all of their bullshit. And it would make me think, man, like, what the fuck's going on?
From a verified place, a place that could be measured, weighed, and executed and or repeated. And that, sorry, That's just where it's going to come from.
Ted Rowe literally said it started because of the ODNI report.
Right. And yeah, I mean, just the fact that he didn't start telling his experience stories until Lue Elizondo came out. So even with all the negative stuff that Lue brings, he, I think, has inspired a lot of people to start talking, and he's inspired lawmakers to start looking at it. And I'm concentrating on the things
that I totally agree with that too,
that are positive. But even with all of that, there's an underbelly to this that doesn't hit people the right way, and it's for good reason. It's valid. What I'm saying to you rather is you have a valid reason to have those doubts, and so does anybody else.
That's disappointing because he could have been so positive, right? Like if he did, it's opportunity lost, I guess. And that's kind of, I had held up Lue to a high regard, kind of put him on a pedestal, and it kind of got tossed over after Friday, and I guess I'm still kind of dealing with that, and that's why I'm so aggressive and being so loud about this. But it's
right. Well, I think it's just managing our expectations. We cannot. We can no longer. And I think Daniel, you hit this on the head. We can no longer put people on see what data they're bringing. And then if the data requires the pedestal, then we put you up there. And that's why we value people like John Greenwald, because he's bringing great data to the table. And again,
these messages aren't out yet, right? I'm thinking of John Greenwald as I am changing my thoughts on Lue in real time. That's the fucking text that's in the back of my head as I'm debating on this. Nobody has seen this text.
Either the data holds up or it doesn't, and there is no, I don't need to put John Greenwald on a pedestal. His work speaks for himself. And when he's wrong, he cops up to it, so yeah, I no disrespect to the last 75 years of research, but I can't use that stuff for the desk of a senator. For me, it's not that it doesn't matter. It's valuable. We're standing on the shoulders of a lot of that research. We wouldn't be here having this discussion without it. But what is going to grab a senator's attention? I'm sorry, it's not 75 years of research. It's too dense. It's too complex. If we can't all agree on it, how the hell are a group of senators going to agree on the 75 years worth of data? It's impossible. So might as well show them what they know now, what is happening today. And apparently, according to some pilots and some people who said things, there's occurrences all the time. And there's data being picked up all the time to a point now where we need an office to collect it and manage it and make sure that hits the right channels.
All of that, I still believe today. But the difference is now I know what all of those incursions and all of those things are likely to be, because we hadn't had an Arrow report at that point. I think the only article I had read at this point, as far as other explanations, like really good explanations as to what we were dealing with, was the Tyler Rogaway article that he did for The Drive, explaining in a long article the very real drone problem that the United States is facing. So again, these things are building up as I'm working through it in real time.
But hey, the beautiful thing is that we're going to talk about it. Unlike a lot of shows, I've met Lue in person. I've talked to his father. I've talked to his wife. I've talked to, his friends. And we've spoken to him on this show so many times. I've lost count at this point. It's got to be at least 5 or 6. And I, as a human, just want to trust him. I want to believe that what he's doing is just. And maybe that's
This is me giving him the benefit of the doubt. Well, I say it right here. Just listen to me.
And maybe that's foolish. When I was talking to a good friend of mine today, who I won't name, we were both like, if he's wrong on this, we're just going to have to eat crow and say, yeah, okay, we got it wrong.
And I did.
We got it wrong. We trusted somebody that maybe we shouldn't have trusted. But again, if I was in Vegas,
I don't follow that. See, I don't follow that logic of if he was wrong about something, we got it wrong. Like, what do you mean? Like, if he was wrong about what? Like,
well,
which
in other words, putting our trust in him.
Hear people
putting
say
our
that.
trust in him.
Putting
our trust in him. You know what I mean? Like, just
yeah,
defending
see, I don't think
him.
that takes away from the See, that's why I go back to the data. I don't think it takes away from the Pentagon UFO videos or Commander Fravor's testimony. Like, I think that's why we really have to separate the people out from the evidence. And I get you, Luis, that you're also a good person, and I want to believe that you're a good person. And I haven't met you in person yet, but I wouldn't be on this podcast twice a week if I didn't really think that. Like, really deep down, I think you're a good person, and I want to believe that. And I would be very disappointed if I found out you were like a secret Men in Black agent, right?
In a way, though, that's in a way, though, you're kind of carrying my water in that way. You're taking a risk, right? And so if I turn out to be if I turn out to be some real piece of garbage, you would feel bad. And I think that's what this is, and we would have to come to the table and tell our audience and tell the people who we said, and maybe even sometimes with curtness and a little bit of disrespect because you're just frustrated, and turn around and say, hey, look, I'm sorry. I got this wrong. And I should have paid more attention to the signs. And I should have maybe listened to you more, But I guess my point is that I'm willing to do that. In this case, I'm willing to sort of put myself out there, risk my ego, to trust somebody, to trust somebody, because I have defended Lue, because I want to believe Lue. Again, it goes beyond just these shows. So maybe it's a blind spot, but I always try to play devil's advocate for him. But at the same time, I think there are things that he's doing that are unacceptable. Having sock puppet accounts to me it's unnecessary. It's so beneath you. You don't need to do that. And, if that was my advice as his wife or his kids or his best friend or just some jerk on the street, I would advise to anybody, you don't need a sock puppet account. Just ignore it, man. As much and coming from me, that's a joke because sometimes it's hard for me to ignore it.
And here's the thing. I held up to my words there. I said to myself right there, if I'm putting my name, my ego out on the line because I believe and trust this guy. That was a big mistake. But let's continue. I mean,
A few moments later.
Beating a woman or...
Okay, so this is the interview. Let me just start here. This was my most embarrassing moment on UCR. This moment right here, honestly, even right now, I'm cringing before I even let it play. And I want to preface with what happened here. Number one, Stephen Greenstreet's on the phone because we're having technical difficulties. He's calling the radio station that we're on because the audio isn't working. I can't bring up things that I have lined up, including all of the messages that we got when we announced we were doing an interview with Stephen Greenstreet. And some of the things, I've got them screenshotted here. Let me see where it is. Gosh. Where did I put it, man? Just because I was... It was a photo. I think this is it. Let me see. Nope, that's not it. No. Hold on a second, guys. Sorry. Oh man, I have it somewhere. Anyway, we were the thing that, God damn it, I'm pissed. Oh, you know what? I think I actually bookmarked it. I did. I bookmarked it. Sorry, guys. Just give me a second. Here it is right here. So this is the kind of stuff that I was getting from accounts like Think Tank and all sorts of people, right? You know, Greens, you know, telling me how racist and homophobic and how he said things like he wants to beat women. Where is it, dude? I thought. I don't want to click that link. I don't know what that is. Did somebody just... Maybe they just blocked me, and that's why it's not there. Let me go ahead and check my bookmarks one more time. But anyway, there's a lot of screenshots of what alleges to be Stephen Greenstreet, and we were getting a ton of questions in the announcement of that show. And so we'll just listen here. We'll just listen. Watch what happens. You have a felon out a few years ago. And, well, let me also just say real quick that people, you know, again, this question comes from a place of trying to please both sides of my audience and trying to ask tougher questions on the show. But I'm not a journalist. I've never taken a class for this kind of stuff. And this was honestly the worst way that I preface a question possible. I tried my best, but there's no delicate way to ask these questions that these trolls were constantly hounding me about. And meanwhile, like, also keep in mind, some of these trolls were like Patreon members and fucking YouTube subscribers. And like, they were fans of the show or pretending to be fans of the show. About real quick with you. So there was this post that you put out a few years ago about if you were being hit by a woman voraciously that you would punch her back. Have you ever been arrested for beating a woman, or do you have a felon for any of these crazy kinds of crimes?
I'm sorry. Wait. So what's the question again? Like, I don't have context for what you're asking me.
So people have been posting. Yes, yeah, that's what people have been asking. They want to know if you're a felon or if you beat women.
Am I a felon and do I beat women?
Yeah.
I'm not going to. There is absolutely no way, Lou, I'm going to dignify that question.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, look, I just, again,
before you continue.
Yeah. And look, I pissed off Steven here. And, I also have to say, fuck, I totally forgot. So after that, after the right before we get to this part right here, this interview, okay, that's when I started having that debate with Rather and thinking in that way. That's when I reached out to Matthew Riot, who's in our chat. Okay, because Matthew Riot was the only person that I could trust and go to at the time to help me look up if what was in those text messages calling Greenstreet and Greenwald felons was true. I asked him if he could help me look that up without asking Greenwald and Greenstreet. I in my heart of hearts, I didn't think the rumor was true, but I wanted to get an independent source to see if they can verify this claim or not. And that was the only person that I trusted. And I didn't even send it to him. I did not send him the screenshot. I read it to him over the phone. I said, hey man, I've got this text. I don't know what the fuck it means, but after our conversations, I'm like, it just doesn't feel right. I need to know the answer to this question. And before I ever got an answer from Matthew, I ended up just going straight to Stephen Greenstreet myself, or Greenwald, excuse me. I went to John Greenwald myself and asked him, hey, I heard this crazy rumor. And I told him what I heard. He said, who said that? I was like, I don't want to betray any confidences, but let me read you the text. I read him the text, and he says, Lou, I will pay for the background check if you want me to, but I'm not a felon. I've never been a felon. But he's like, can you tell me who said that? And at that point, I felt like I owed it to him. I was like, yeah, it was Lue Elizondo. It was Lue Elizondo. And that shocked him. Okay. What I didn't know was Matthew Riot, who's still friends. We're still, honestly, this was I don't consider it a betrayal. Here's what I consider it. You ever been at the top of a diving platform or something that you're like a bungee jump or something like that, and you're stalling, and you're stalling. And then you got your buddy who just comes and fucking pushes you right off the edge? That's exactly what Matthew Riot did to me. Like, he pushed me right off the fucking edge because he went straight to Stephen Greenstreet and told him exactly what I had just told him. So now Stephen Greenstreet is armed in this interview with the knowledge that Lue Elizondo, at least he thinks, emailed me a list of people who were felons that had his name on it. Okay? And then I go into this interview not knowing that he knows that. And then I start asking him questions from my troll audience about him being a felon, and he thinks I'm setting him up. And the person that is making me ask this question is Lue Elizondo. So that's what's going through his brain right now. Okay, and watch what happens here. Watch. I can't believe I almost forgot that part.
What the fuck kind of question was that, Lou?
Good question.
Why did you ask that question?
Because these are questions that we're getting when I announce that you're coming on the show. A whole bunch of people come up to the the Stephen Greenstreet fire, and they want to throw gasoline on this fire. And so I'm asking this question because I want to dispel these rumors.
And this
because
is true.
I think you do good work, and I think people are pulling at strings and putting these rumors on the table, trying to make you look like a jerk when I don't think you've ever been arrested. I don't think you beat women. I think people are taking things out of context and they're trying to label you these things. And I want to destroy these labels.
Who are you talking about? Who are you talking about?
Again,
people who responded.
Like right now, the show's going through technical difficulties. I had the screenshots of the people who asked these questions. I was trying to pull up the Twitter account to be like, okay, here's who asked. Here are the specific questions, but nothing is working. Nothing is working. And if you notice, my camera is the shittiest looking one because I was having connection issues for a while when I would stream shows, especially with multiple people. And so we were having tech difficulties. So I'm trying to remember off the top of my head who the fuck said it, what exactly was said, so that way I could be, because the thing with Stephen Greenstreet, this fucking guy, if you are not specific enough, if there's no specificity in your question, he is going to fucking tear you apart bit by bit. And he's really good at what he does. And again, this push off of the fucking bridge with the bungee cord, I needed this moment. Because what happened after this was pure fucking chaos. And this is now we're about to get into the blackmail and all of the leaking of these messages. Again, keep in mind, the only person who's physically seen this message is my girlfriend, Michelle, because she lives with me. Not Stephen Greenstreet, not Matthew Riot, not John Greenwald. Nobody had that text message because I did not feel right sharing that private text messages with a screenshot and then sending it to somebody who might have taken advantage of that. I didn't want to do that, but I wanted to check on these things, especially after the interview we just fucking had with the guy. So let's continue.
To the interview that we're doing on Twitter. I'm talking about Twitter. I'm talking about trolls. That's who I'm talking about.
So you're dignifying the questions from anonymous trolls about beating women, and you're asking your guest about that?
Yeah, to hopefully dispel the rumor. That's the whole point. I mean, look, because we get shit from both sides, right? Like we ask tough questions of Lue Elizondo, and we're pariahs. We ask questions. These are questions that people are bringing up, and so I just want to.
And to be honest, he's playing a little dumb with these questions. To just to defend myself, like anytime you put an interview, if you put a post out right now saying you're going to interview Stephen Greenstreet tomorrow, you will see 15, 20 posts underneath it. Can you ask him about this picture or this thing that was said in this forum or this, whatever it is? So this idea that you're kind of playing dumb, like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Honestly, I think a better answer would have been like, look, that's a really shitty question to ask me, but no, fucking of course not. Of course not. Because all of those screenshots, all of those things that are posted out there, there's no direct connection 100% that leads to him that I've seen. They're all anonymous names, anonymous accounts. I'm not going to sit there and go through fucking 18 years of fucking Discord messages to figure out if what those things are actually connected to him. I'd rather just ask him. I'm not asking the question as a gotcha or trying to get you in a certain position. And I'm not trying to dignify these trolls with asking the question. I am just genuinely, I'm trying to dispel these rumors so that we can put this crap behind us.
I don't care about the rumors. But if I was you, and I was interviewing someone and someone anonymous tweeted me, emailed me and said, ask the person you're about to interview if they beat women, I would not do that. What I would do is say, okay, well, let me look into this myself. And before I asked that question and dignified it, I'd want to look into it myself and see what's there and be armed with more information before I brought that up in public during a live.
And that's a fair fucking point. It's fair. But again, I'm not a journalist. I'm answering to the people who are yelling at me through my show, So he's right, though. I should not have asked the question in that way. And I don't know if there is a good way to ask that question. I don't know if I should have tried to placate to my audience at all on a question like that without doing the fucking research. But I don't research stuff like that. I'm not a researcher like that. I can't find whether or not I'm not going to when it comes to UFOs, I can sit there, read and fucking watch and interact with that until the cows come home. I'm not the guy who goes through Discords looking for links to, you know what I mean? So, but again, that's not an excuse. And he's 100% right on this. He's 100% correct.
Stream.
No, I think that's fair. And I'm sorry. I apologize. It's not, I don't even.
And again, even in real time, you're right. I don't have a problem being wrong. I really don't. And I make mistakes all the fucking time. And this is one of them. But honestly, again, it's kind of like one of those mistakes that ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'll look into it because I've interacted with you more than one time. You've been on the show. You've been really good to us. This is not a gotcha. I don't believe these rumors. I'm not trying to add to these rumors. I'm trying to dispel them. That's all. Honestly,
cool. Yeah, I just thought I'd fuck with you for a sec. So here, answer me this question.
And yeah, I think he did believe that. Because I think the answers I just gave him as to why, I think he genuinely had calmed down at that point, was like, I'm just fucking with you. And then, just FYI, after the show, we talked, and I told him everything. And you'll see what happens here.
One of the reasons you're asking me an email you got from Lue Elizondo.
No, absolutely not.
And I could say no right away, because that's not a lie. No, it wasn't an email. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But then he continues.
It had nothing to do with me asking this question.
And it didn't.
Swear to God.
It had nothing to do with me asking that question. The text message. It did not. It really didn't. And Steven believes me when I say that. So that's good enough for me. And my co-hosts know that was not my intention. Because if that's what I was trying to do, I would have definitely told Rather.
Lue Elizondo did not email you referring to me as a felon.
No. Not an email, no.
Not an email.
Not an email.
He caught on that. He catches it. He's good. He's good. He's good. He's good, right? So I'm dodging the question. I'm still telling the truth, but this is what I look like when I dodge a question. Now you have it. Okay? I'm like literally doing the math in my head, and I can see, oh, fuck, this is checkmate. There's no good way to answer this, man. Yeah.
So what was it?
Well, that's the question. Lose a little bit of signal here. I could talk to you about that off air. That's a long pause for me. If you got to pause that long for me, I'm lying. It's just straight up lying. I usually don't have pauses to answer questions. I think everybody can agree with that. I usually don't leave a lot of space to answer things. In fact, most times I probably interject before you're done with your thought because I've already got the answer just fucking ready to go. And that's a fault of mine. Something that I will work on probably until the day I die. I will never perfect that fault of mine. Because I don't want to betray confidences. That was a private message. So I'd be more than happy to talk to you about that off the air. But in the days after I've had that discussion, there are, and I don't know.
If
there was no good answer, man, no good answer. So the show ends, right? There's this, that awkward moment. And again, I'm going to be releasing that whole interview. It's already gone live, but you have to be a member to watch it. So if you want to watch all of these moments in their entirety, become a member of the show. Subscribe, like, share, do all that good stuff.
Few moments later.
So now this is where all hell breaks fucking loose. Okay, right after that interview. Because now everybody knows that there is a list with names on it accusing people of being felons. And the whole fucking internet descended on me, or at least that's the way it felt. And so for a whole weekend, that show I think was on a Friday. And me and my girlfriend went to San Diego for the weekend. The whole weekend, I was just really stressed and unsure. For the first time in the show's history, I was completely stumped as to what I should do next. The solution I had come up with was I was going to read the texts on the show without showing them. But again, that kind of like, now it's a trust me, bro. But in the state of California, you are not allowed to show private text messages without permission of people to share it. But let's dissect what happens now, because this is where the blackmail comes in. So this is a tweet from Rob Heatherly, and this has got nothing to do with the blackmail or anything. This is just to show you what he's saying about me after this show online to people. Because now Lue Elizondo is getting questions about this list of felons. And now Lue Elizondo's freaking out because he now knows that there's the RDM has at least leaked in some fashion. He doesn't know whether it's an actual picture of RDM or I've just told people. And the truth is, at that point, I had told my girlfriend, I showed my girlfriend and told my girlfriend, I showed Rather, or excuse me, I didn't show Rather. Well, I showed Rather after all this shit went down. I told Rather what it was. I told Matthew what was in the text, and I told John Greenwald. I read it to them. And because they know who I am, they believed me when I was reading this text to them. So Rob Heatherly starts writing over this weekend, okay? I don't just feel it. Okay, so he goes, nice reference, this guy, Terry Bradford. Yeah, I feel like he's definitely backstabbing Lou. That's the term that kept coming up. I was backstabbing Luis Elizondo. I was backstabbing him. I was a traitor. Those are the words that started. This is when those words started coming into the picture. Rob Heatherly responds to that with, I don't just feel it, I know it is fact. Luis manufactured the drama. I've seen the text in question. Either Luis blatantly lied or grammar and punctuation aren't his strong suit. He's an actor that understands the value of good drama, as they discovered with RB Squidding. So this was the first clue that I got on Twitter that he's talking to Rob Heatherly. And according to him, he's seen the messages. Okay, that's weird because nobody from my side can claim they've seen it. So now he's taken our private message, he's taken a snapshot of it and sent it to Rob Heatherly. The next photo. This is Rob Heatherly on May 8th saying this to me, asking me a question. One simple yes or no question for you. In the tweet in question you advanced, is there or is there not a comma between Felon 5 and Green Street? Greenwald's name delineating them as separate from the felony reference. I've seen the truth with your texts. To which I was like, okay, so now he knows where the comma is. So he's definitely got it, right? Because that was when Lue called me and he was all pissed off because he did call me that weekend after that show. And he's like, yo, dude, what the fuck? The message. He's like, hey, that's not what I meant. There's a comma. Don't you understand the comma? And he's trying to tell me about this fucking comma. And I'm like, dude, okay, well, if I was telling him, I'm like, bro, like, you understand, like, I told him he was asking me for an apology. His wife was yelling in the background. He was asking me for an apology. And I was going, well, look, dude, I'll give you an apology, but at the very least, you can understand how I got this wrong, right? Like, at least give me that. And he's like, no, you need to call Greenwald right now and tell him that's not what I meant. And being Lue, at the time, I still had admiration for him. I still had a respect for him. I still had the hope that maybe we could make this work somehow. And he's like, call Greenwald right now and correct this. It's like, okay, so I call Greenwald. He doesn't answer and I leave him a voicemail basically saying, hey, man, that text message that I read to you, well, now Green Street knows it's out and he kind of, it's out, like, basically. And Lue thinks that I misunderstood it. So I'm calling you to tell you that he's called me to tell you that I misunderstood the text. I'm like, call me back. Maybe the three of us could get on the phone together kind of thing. And I hang up with Lue. Or I hang up with Lue, leave the message for Greenwald. A couple minutes later, he calls me back. And he's like, Lue, like, no, man. Like, you didn't get it wrong. Like, you're reading it that's the way I'm taking it. And my girlfriend also heard the discussion between me and Elizondo. And even she was like, he fucking gaslit you. And I was like, yeah, he fucking did just gaslight me. He sure fucking did. And that's what was my focus in this moment. Now, because I was so focused on him gaslighting me and trying to get me to fall on his sword, I kind of missed the next things. And it didn't hit me until a couple months later. And that's this one, this message right here. So as this weekend is going down, I'm getting DMs from this guy, Richard Butt. This is one of the most mysterious people on Twitter. He says he works for the Navy. He says he's a he. There are parts of me who think it could be a woman, just based off of some of the responses that they gave me. And again, I'm releasing the video, Who is Richard Butt, that I did 2 years ago. It's live right now. If you want to watch my entire explanation, of all of the messages between me and Richard Butt, become a member and go watch that episode. And it'll go into great detail of who Richard Butt is and how mysterious this motherfucker is. So here we got a fucking stranger who I don't know who it is, other than he's a hero for disclosure behind the scenes. Self-touted, by the way. And he writes me in one of these, this is where the blackmail comes in, but honestly, I just blew past it. It wasn't until a couple of months later down the road, I believe it was Keith Clore, where I showed him this message, and he goes, wait a second, this guy blackmailed you. You realize that, right? And I was like, oh yeah. Yeah, he fucking did. But I didn't care. Like, the blackmail meant nothing to me because I wanted the photos out. I wanted the text message to be out on the internet so people would stop calling me the fucking liar and attack me. I wanted the message out there so people could read it and come up with their own fucking decision. I thought for sure, like, most people would see it exactly the same way I did. He was calling those guys fucking felons and mentally challenged and fucking all the things that he said. Again, let's just pull up the fucking text. So I'm not paraphrasing here. I'm tired with the Felon 5, Green Street, Greer, Greenwald, Third Phase, and all the other bullshit artists. It's very sad that this topic has been regulated. So according to, okay, here's the thing with this comma, right? This is the comma that they're referencing right here. Right after Felon 5. Because of that comma's placed there, therefore, he doesn't mean these guys. But what he does mean is that these guys are very sad. They're hucksters, mentally unstable individuals. They're a crime to humanity that they've been allowed to pilfer the pockets of people who've sacrificed so much. I guess I'm a bit jaded these days. So even if you don't call them felons, all of those other things are still fucking terrible to say about somebody that you're lying about. So I wanted these fucking messages out. Let people decide if that comma is what it means. And if it is, again, I've said this a billion times, and you'll see it in this video. If I'm wrong, then it's 10 people. It's the Felon 5, and these 5 assholes are all of these things. And the 5 assholes in the Felon 5 are all of these things. So there's 10 people. The list is actually fucking longer, according to Richard Butt and Rob Heatherly, the armchair investigator that lives in a garbage dump. So this is the fucking blackmail that I'm getting throughout the weekend. And again, like, I didn't notice this at the time because you have to put yourself in my shoes. The amount of hatred that I was getting from everywhere after that interview was 24/7, man, for those 3 days up until we did the next show that you're about to see. So, let me see here. There's no great way.
Let's just go ahead and talk about the elephant.
No. Okay, this is cutting off. So you know what? Let me just bring up the whole message. So that way there's no bullshit. I guess I just didn't do it right in the editor. When it rendered out, it cut off the top here. So here we go. So Lou, respectfully, this is Richard Butt, okay, the mysterious fucking asshole who, by the way, people are trying to find out who this guy is. Because if he does work for the Navy as he claims, the fact that he just blackmailed me is fucking ridiculous. So here's the message. Lou, respectfully, why are you allowing Green Street to continue and spread false narrative that Lou called him a felon and warned many other people that he was? Are you not going to do the ethical thing and correct the record? I've respected your decision to tread, quote, both sides. of the line, but now you're allowing for a direct character assassination of a person you have voiced your respect for. I can't stand idly by and allow that to happen. It is one of my biggest pet peeves. And this is where the blackmail comes. I'm hoping you will correct the record before I make a long and detailed post outlining exactly how this all happened and directly questioning your motives for not correcting the record. So you better come out and say an apology, or I'm going to write a long, detailed post outlining exactly what the motives are behind this. I did not give a fuck. I was like, please. And I think my response is pretty clear that. So then he doubles down. He goes, I've spoken with you and Rather via DM, and you're both aware of how this happened, that Lue did not make such accusations. Yes, he fucking did. Yes, he did. It's right fucking here in black and white. But neither of you are correcting the record. Please let me know what your intent is. And here's where the second blackmail comes in. I'm giving you the option of correcting the direction here before I make a post outlining what happened to correct the record. So what I think is happening here is they're trying to get me to publicly say, I'm so sorry. What I did was wrong. It was my fault that the messages got leaked. It was my fault that I misread a message from Lue calling people fucking hucksters and mentally unstable. I'm sorry. That's what they wanted me to fall on the sword. And this was their last attempt to try and get that to happen. And I wrote back, for legal reasons, I can't get into specifics. I will address parts of it on Thursday. I will say, for someone like myself who's worked, fought, loves, and respects Lue, it does not look good. I'm staying away from the Twitter bickering. It's a waste of my energy. Have a good weekend. So that's me going, do whatever the fuck you want. Do whatever you want. And again, at that point, when I wrote that back, Richard, like after I wrote that response, that's when Rob Heatherly started releasing things like this.
A few moments later.
Oh, wait, did I miss it? Dude, this.
I've had that discussion. There are.
A few moments later.
That's when he released this, telling me exactly where the comma is in the mess. So I know he has it. Right? He's telling people that he's seen it in the previous tweet. And then the blackmail comes, I respond to it, or excuse me, the blackmail comes first, then I put those in the wrong order. That blackmail thing should have been first, and then those two messages from Rob Heatherly basically saying that he's got the message and that they're threatening to fucking leak it.
Moments later.
Let's just go ahead. So this is the messages have leaked. Richard Budd has put them out there. Everybody can see them and make up their own mind. And for me, at this point, like, I'm relieved. I am relieved that they're out there, and I'm ready to move on to the next fucking thing. I really am. And at this point, I'm not angry about blackmail. I'm just upset that they tried to get me to fall on a sword that I didn't think I should have to fucking fall on. Because again, I didn't write those things. I didn't say those things. He did, man. And everybody loses that in this conversation. Really, truly do. Going to talk about the elephant in the room, shall we? So last week, we asked Stephen Greenstreet of an absolutely just worst frame question of all time. Well, as I look at it, I feel like Stephen was almost baiting me a little bit. It's almost as if he knew a little bit of information. Listen, and I get this shit all the time. Shit like this. It's not blackmail, Lou. You were given a personally threatening ultimatum to either you or your family to carry out an act against your will. If not, it's not blackmail. That's not accurate, asshole. That's not fucking accurate whatsoever. It's a quid pro quo. You better do this or I'm going to do this. You better put an apology out or I'm going to fucking put out the text with all of the context behind the comma. They were trying to get me to do something against my will, which was apologize. Is that the same as really serious blackmail? No. This is not life-threatening blackmail shit, but that's not the fucking point. And that's what everybody fucking glosses over. It's the action. It's the fact that he took a picture of my fucking message, sent it to two dickheads, one of whom nobody knows who it is and possibly works for the fucking Navy. And that's the guy sending me ultimatums and blackmail and demands for apologies? Fuck you, Jason Brown. And fuck anybody who doesn't see that is a fucked up move. That is a fucked move. They thought I was going to make the decision from fear. And I made the decision from no fear. None. But that was their last-ditch effort before they wrote their fucking op-ed online about the comma. And then turned this all around on me over a fucking comma. And Rob Heatherly and fucking Richard Butt and Lue Elizondo's not answered for any of this shit. Not once. But those first two guys, it's fucking fucked. And if you can't see that, I'm sorry. That's on you. That's on you. Want me to say a certain word, and then I said that word, and the lights came on, and we got into the mess that the channel got into. So I guess let me start here. I am not out to destroy Lue Elizondo. I've gotten it from both sides this last week. The one side is saying, in these text exchanges, you ask them to use you as a tool. You're a tool for Lue Elizondo and you're a shill for Lue Elizondo. I've said that on the air. I've said that in private messages. I've requested, yes, I am a tool. I am doing a grassroots effort. And anything that I can do to help you help us with that or help you in whatever message you're trying to spread when it comes to that aspect of things, I am your tool. Use me at will. And I'll still say that now. My objective is to get this in front of Congress and get some real answers. Because after today, especially with Stephen Greenstreet's new episode of The Basement Office, it's even more critical that we get clarity on this stuff. And then the other side will say, this is just a hit piece by a bunch of jealous people who want to just create a story and cause drama to cause drama. Let me start out here. And I guess this really goes back about a month ago when we asked Lue Elizondo about his alt accounts, and he confirmed on the show that, yeah, he has alt accounts. He's got sock puppet accounts, whatever you want to call them. And after the show, I texted Lue, just like, hey, basically just checking on him. He seemed upset before the show. He had mentioned something about felons before the show. and also, let me just say real quick also that the actual picture of the messages was leaked then by Elizondo, or wasn't Elizondo, it was Heatherly. It was either Heatherly or Richard Butt. I think it was Richard Butt. And then Heatherly doubled down, of course, retweeted and sent it to all his idiot friends. So the actual message, the picture of it, was put out by their side first. And then that gave me the permission to put out my full version with my response to what he said first. So that's why I show the message now. I just wanted to, that just popped into my head. I just want to make that clear. We didn't upset him, or there was something that we said or that we did. And, and so he responded with what he responded.
he names Greenstreet, Greer, Greenwald, Third Phase, and all the other bullshit artists. And it's very sad to see this important topic regulated by the fringe and all these hucksters and mentally unstable individuals. So people were screaming at the top of their lungs that he didn't mean those 5 people as the felon 5. He was not referring to those people as felons. Which, when I've gone around and I've asked my closest friends, Rather, Jane, I've asked everybody on the team and people outside of the team to make sure that I totally didn't get this wrong. And it's leaning toward most people read it the way I read it, which was, thank you, hermano. Honestly, I'm tired of all the BS with the Felon 5, Greenstreet, Greer, Greenwald, Third Phase, and all the other bullshit artists. So I'm told I got this wrong, and I was demanded an apology for getting this wrong. And I was also told to correct the record, right? So here's the thing. I will absolutely 100% own up to I misread this. Okay? I'll own that. But if I own that, then that means we're naming 10 people here. So who are the Felon 5? And who are Greenstreet, Greer, Greenwald, Third Phase, and all the other bullshit artists? Now, when I say,
and also,
you go ahead.
What was the intention of the message, right? Like, I think the intention is clear, regardless of whether you think they're felons or not, to discredit all those people that he's mentioned and saying that these people are, engaging in crimes against humanity and very, very, punitive, just ridiculous claims, really, about people who are, stand-up people who just disagree with him on the issues.
Right. In the next text, I said to him, man, I had no idea about Greenstreet and Greenwald. Goof on, Third Phase. I put Third Phase as a joke. Stephen Cambion and all those guys are nuts. Like, I could understand maybe being frustrated. So when he kind of blew past that, this idea of I had no idea about Greenstreet and Greenwald, that what was kind of confirmed to me, shit. Like, I think he's naming these 5 people felons. And out of the 5 people, the one person that I felt guilty about was John Greenwald. And the first people I told, my girlfriend knew, because when I read this, the first person I showed was my girlfriend, and I said, hey, am I getting this wrong? Am I reading this incorrectly? Is this what this means? She's like, no, I got the same thing you did. It's like, okay. Then I told Rather about it, because Rather's part of my team. And I wanted to get his thoughts on that statement. After about a week, I just felt I owed John Greenwald. I had to ask him, because out of all the people there, that's the one that bothered me the absolute most. Because I know 100% for sure John Greenwald's not a felon. And that's the way I took it. If I made a mistake, and to be clear, Lue Elizondo does not owe us anything. Doesn't owe me anything, doesn't owe you a damn thing. I don't owe you this explanation. But I want to give you this explanation because for 3 days, I was like, I don't know what to do. There's no right move here. If I show the text exchange, I'm outing a private message and I'm a pariah and I'm doing the exact same things that UAP Mike or UFO Joe have done, reveal private messages between people. I didn't want to do that. And then I also didn't want to tell the truth about what I knew, because then people would ask for the proof and I couldn't provide you the proof. So it was a no-win situation. There was no way I was coming out of this a winner. And the only solution I came to right before this text ever became public, and to be 100% clear, I never took a picture and shared this message with anyone. I only asked people the questions of the claims that I had heard. So nobody ever saw this, ever. not Rather, not John Greenwald. The only person that saw this was my girlfriend. That's it. So I was in a no-win situation there. So then we go back to, I don't know where I was. Where was I? This is such a stupid thing. This is so stupid. Like this text exchange between me and Lue Elizondo. So I told Rather, and then I called John Greenwald, and I told him, hey man, I heard this rumor. I don't think it's true, but I have to ask you because the claim was so crazy and it came from somebody that I respect. And I respect you. And if this claim had been Rather or Jane or Bill, our producer, or Andy from that UFO podcast, or Sean Cahill, or Alejandro Rojas.
Matt, I think I've made this very clear. How did the messages make themselves public? They were leaked by Richard Butt and Rob Heatherly. That's how.
Or Aaron Desario, or any one of the people that I consider friends, I would have done the exact same thing. Rob Heatherly and this guy named Richard Butt on Twitter. Dick Butt. I've talked to him a few times privately. He's been mostly cordial to me. But when this happened on Thursday, I started getting private messages from him, and so did Rather, demanding of us to tell the truth, that they knew exactly what happened and that I owe Lue Elizondo and his wife an apology. And I'm like, well, that's news to me. I mean, he was telling me about very specific things that just Lue and I had talked about. So I know he had talked to Lue. It's the only other person that had those details.
And again, like if you want to go through all of the messages between me and Richard Butt, that's live now for members on this channel. So you can get all of the messages between me and Richard Butt.
And so then publicly, they started referencing parts of this text message with commas in the right spot. And I was like, well, thank you. Thank God. Now I don't have to release these messages. Clearly, you guys have them. So release them. Show everybody. I want them out there because I'm tired of people calling me a liar for this. It's not what I wanted. I wanted the message out there so that way people could see for themselves and come to their own conclusions. And so that's exactly what happened. He got a message from Lue Elizondo, and he's confirmed that in private message with me. The text message came from Lue Elizondo, and it was posted through Richard Butt, which is just a clever way of saying Dick Butt. I don't know why Lue Elizondo's releasing pictures through a guy named Dick Butt, but okay. So the text comes out, and my first response is thank you. Like, I'm relieved. Like, now I don't have to have the pressure of trying to skirt around what happened with this without revealing the context of how it happened with this text message. So when Stephen Greenstreet asked, was I on an email? And I said, no, that wasn't a lie. I wasn't lying. It wasn't an email. It was a text message.
Well, yeah. And I mean, yeah, you were stuck between a rock and a hard place there. You know, I know that you really wanted to release these messages, but, you know, to say that you're not a liar, you know, show people de facto what's happening. But, you know, yeah, you didn't want to pay privacy, and there's potential legal issues. You know, you're put in a very bad situation. And, you know, a lot of people are accusing, you know, you, or by even asking that question, that, you know, we're trying to do a character assassination on Lue Elizondo. And, you know, that's not true at all. You know, we're pointing out things that Lue Elizondo has done. And, you know, in my opinion, the behavior of Lue Elizondo, which is, you know, these ad hominem attacks and really character assassination on people like Stephen Greenstreet and John Greenwald, you know, that kind of behavior, I think, hurts the mission. It hurts Lue Elizondo's credibility. And we're pointing this out because I think it would help him if he stopped doing this stuff and stopped being so petty and involved in the community at these minutiae details and trying to, you know, cast aspersions on people. I think he should stop that. And I think that would help him. It would help the mission, and it would, you know, stop muddying this whole situation.
The last month, and you can ask Rather, the discussions that we've had in our Discord, like, this hurt me the last month. Finding out about alternate accounts was disappointing. Very disappointing. And then when Stephen Greenstreet clipped Rather being upset about it, that's when he got mad at us. It wasn't even the question. Lue wasn't mad at the question. It was that people clipped Rather's response out of context without the preface of, hey, we appreciate this man. We appreciate everything we've done. We do think he's an American hero. But just because we have questions for him, we're not questioning the validity of his service or his being. We're just asking questions on what's out there. That's fair. That's fair. What is so unfair about that? What's so rude about that?
Hello. All right. Good morning. So that was the show after all of that stuff happened. And then now we fast forward, after that, I really left it alone. I really did. But it was when we got to the Big Phone Home 3 and how my friends in the community, especially the really cowardly ones, stayed away from the Big Phone Home 3. And the messages that were going on during the Big Phone Home 3 just made it clear for me that all of these people who were my friends were in it for the worst reasons. And it was to make money. It wasn't for truth. They weren't actual activists. They didn't give a fuck. They didn't care. They couldn't, my critical eye became a little sharper, and that was enough for them. And along with all of this, to be like, yeah, we're not going to help you promote or talk about or do any of that stuff. Even though the things I was promoting and doing were in the interests of the topic. Were in the interest of the community. As a matter of fact, the Big Phone Home 3, and I will stick to my guns on this one, was the most successful Big Phone Home that we have. The reason why is because we learned who's in this for real. And the second thing that we learned, oh gosh, I'm having a brain fart. We learned who's in this for real, but we also, the second thing I wanted to mention was we got Mick West to sign the petition. He emailed it to his lawmaker here in California. Name one other UFO pro disclosure grassroots event that Mick West participated in and signed the petition and sent it to lawmakers. You guys always want the fucking skeptics on your side. Well, I actually did it. That's how good our verbiage was. And it was to improve FOIA and to demand all of the data on Gimbal specifically, then Go Fast and Tic Tac. And we've learned there is no other footage for Gimbal, Go Fast, and Tic Tac. That's all of it. There is no extended versions of that. How do we know that? Because that's what the Aero Office put in their report. That's what Sean Kirkpatrick has said in his interviews. So now we know.
Good evening.
So there is right after the Big Phone Home, I did an episode eviscerating the UFO community and all the people that didn't show up and that call themselves activists. I showed everybody how much money I made that episode. I called out that UFO podcast, Dan Zetterstrom, Chris Sharp, the UAP Media UK guys. Everyone, there was Jesse Michaels was supposed to be at the show. He bailed. And then mysteriously Red Panda was supposed to be there and he bailed as well, which is weird because we're in the same time zones. I sent him fucking 6 emails and messages saying, hey, your show time's from this to this. And every single time he's like, yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be there. Then I get a mysterious call or email from Jesse Michaels going, oh, I'm sorry, I can't be there due to a personal issue, which is look, I didn't know the guy at the time. I don't know if what he's saying is true, but okay, that's cool. But you're the 4th or 5th person to not show up today. And then I get the thing from Panda going, oh man, sorry, I missed my time. I know what's happening here. I see it. Okay, cool. No, it's all good. It's all good. Now I know again who's in this for real and who's not. And so after that show, of course, I got a bunch of shit for it. People fucking hated me after. Well, they hated me already. I didn't give a fuck. You know, at that point, I didn't care. Because again, like I had put all of this blood, sweat, tears, money, time into the Big Phone Home 3, making it look cool, making it sound cool, making sure that Mick West signed the fucking petition. But that's not good enough for that UFO podcast to talk about or acknowledge. But I thought they're 365 a day year activists. No, they're not. So this is my last episode of UCR. And this is where the video gets just really, it's just sad. I'm broken at this point. I'm completely broken because I've just learned that all of my friends are frauds. This community is full of shit in regards of like what they actually want versus what they're looking for. And also Lue Elizondo and you know, I've come to the realization that yeah, I was just blackmailed. Shitty blackmail. The shittiest blackmail on the planet. And I've said that many times. It was not a good attempt at blackmail, but let's not fucking cross hairs here. That's exactly what it was. Blackmail is you better do this or give me this or do this for me. And if you don't, there will be consequences. That is blackmail. So all of these people in here that don't agree, I don't care. I don't care. And if somebody wants to take me to court for that, let's go. Let's fucking go. I don't like being used. I don't like being fucking made to look like a dickhead. And that's why I'm angry. That's why I'm frustrated. Because I had to walk away from everything. I had to leave the show because I was getting death threats. And in that show where I was eviscerating everybody, there were so many bots in that channel that my fucking mods could not keep up. And they were bots from Russia and Arabic countries calling me a traitor and a backstabber. You don't throw those words around without trying to incite somebody to hurt that person. A traitor and a backstabber, that's like, those are words, you know, used for disgraced generals, not YouTube hosts. So when I started getting thousands of messages in our live stream like that, I didn't even realize that that was happening during the show. It wasn't until after the show where my mods were like, fuck, dude, did you see those bots? We couldn't keep up, Lou. That was the scariest thing right there, where the fucking bots and the traitor and backstabber particularly are the two words that really went, oh man, this feels like it's leading to Pizzagate kind of situation. And my brother, I'm talking to my brother, he's like, dude, you got to stop. At least take a break. My girlfriend was saying the same thing. My mom, my stepdad, my dad, my sisters, like everybody who actually loves me was giving me great advice. And so I took it. I was like, you guys are right. Like, I don't care how much money I'm making off of this. This ain't worth it. It's just not. I was never in this for the money in the first place, but it's just not worth it. But if I had been making as much money as that UFO podcast, I hope that I would still do the same thing. But if I was making $120,000 versus $30,000, $40,000 a year off of my YouTube channel, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to walk away from. And that's what I pointed out in that evisceration episode was like, with that money, you're buying loyalty, because the second that you go against the person that you're questioning and you actually hold their feet to the fire, your audience turns on you. You immediately start losing subs and you immediately start losing your Patreon and YouTube members. And no more merch is bought. Like all of the things that you were building towards, you're literally like, oh fuck, this is useless to me now. But let's listen to me. I'm just gonna let this play out and then we're gonna end the show. Good day, good afternoon, and aloha for the last time. Welcome back to the last episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review. Not a lot of people knew about this. It's been a very, very interesting week. It's going to be just me today. God, where do I begin? This is a lot of people have been, I'm sure, questioning. Like, what's going on with Lue? What's going on with Lue? Why does he seem so upset? What's happening? I'm not the first one who has turned on a dime like this. And we're going to talk about it. I don't know how many different ways I can tell the audience and people that I was blackmailed, third party, by someone very close to Lue Elizondo. I'm going to show you the messages of this very mysterious person. I'm going to give you my thoughts on who I might think it is. Before we start, just FYI, I gotta say, if you don't know what UCR, what this is, as far as this was one of my favorite props for UCR, and it was the disclosure clock. And midnight, if we struck midnight, that means Mick West has been convinced UFOs are real. And we had Steven, like 1 o'clock. It was the kooky, like the kookier to the less kooky, all the way back to Mick West. So we had Stephen Greer was 1 o'clock. Daniel Sheehan was 2. Linda Moulton Howe was 3. Richard Dolan was 4. Rather Be Squinting was 5 o'clock. Lue Elizondo was 6 o'clock. Avi Loeb was 7. John Greenwald 8. Neil deGrasse Tyson 9. Susan Goff 10 o'clock. Stephen Greenstreet 11 o'clock, and Mick West was midnight. And we had a little red, like a countdown clock, and anytime we got cool information or we thought it was exciting or interesting or neat, the disclosure clock would be moved closer to midnight. And this is what I do with the disclosure clock. The disclosure clock, it's all the way back to 0. I've completely reset this thing. That's what I think of the disclosure clock right now. It's been a week from hell. And if you want to make fun of me for sounding like a victim, that's fine. But the reason why I sound like a victim is because I feel like a victim. I'm pissed. I'm so angry, as you probably saw last week, and as you've probably seen in my tweets. Before we get started with all of this, I want to say thank you. So I was at a point, man, like, I mean, UAP Mike, King Milkfart were at their peak here. This was peak. We need to destroy this show. Every second of the day, I was getting attacked by hundreds of people. It was insane. To all the new Patreons that I've had, I'm sorry I didn't get to put your name on the list, and we'll get into Patreons and what's happening with this channel. This is not the complete end, but there is going to be a major shift in how we report on this or how we talk about this. There will never be another show
like UCR. Like, we're not doing any more live shows. I'm no longer going to put my face to this channel. I've lost about 150 subscribers from the channel. I've lost some Patreons. I keep telling you guys, like, this shit's not about the money for me. I've never been in this for the money. The money as a side effect, great. Why wouldn't I want to make money? I work my ass off on this channel. I've stretched my personal life to produce as many shows as we've done, which is either this is 395 or 396. We almost made it to 400. If you guys really sat here in this chair and understood how much work, and for the first time, I'm going to take credit. I always share the credit. And there's a lot of credit to go around. There really, really is. But when I tell you, for the big phone home one, when there were people who said they were there to help me and didn't, Skyfort, Lue Elizondo, you guys did not help me to promote that event at all. That event, there should have been 100,000 people there, 200,000 people there. And there would have been if one of you guys helped with any aspect on the social media, sharing the website, talking about the event constantly, because that's what it takes to build a grassroots movement. I never got that from any of you, but I never questioned that in real time. You're busy, right? You've got things to do. You're working behind the scenes. There's so many things I've done to make this channel work and be fun, take the topic seriously, but try not to take ourselves too seriously. And this channel has gotten to a point where I can't separate the story or what's going on from me. Every time people tune into this show, it's going to be, what did the backstabber and traitor do? And that's the thing that scared me when I started seeing that language, when our mods told me that we had bots in the channel calling me a traitor. I didn't write or make a list of felons. And if I, again, for the billionth time, if I misread it, then the text is even worse. It's worse. That means that there's 5 felons and 5 other people who are mentally disabled and haters and naysayers and scum. And John Greenwald would happen to be one of those people. I can't explain the context of those texts. And I would have died on those texts until I found out Richard Butt and Rob Heatherly clearly had seen them.
And that's true. Like if Rob Heatherly and and Richard Butt had never hinted and eventually released those messages, nobody would ever had a copy of it. Nobody would have had a picture of it. I would have died on those messages, like I just said. I wouldn't have said a thing. I wouldn't have shared it. I would have been like, well, too bad. You're not getting it. I'm not talking about it ever again. If you want answers, go ask Lue. Go ask Lue about the rumors. That was going to be the move. That was the strategy coming back to the show before they, of course, leaked the messages. I was like, well, the only thing I could do is say, hey, look, yes, the message is real. It's real. There's a list of people, but you need to address and ask the guy who wrote it, not me. That's what I was going to do. If they had not come out, but they did. So that was just, honestly, that was better for me. That was better for the whole thing. The whole thing. And I still think I'm right to this day. I don't think that comma means exactly what they mean. Because again, fucking dummies. It's worse. It's worse. It's 10 people, not 5.
You're never going to find another channel that is devoted as much time and organization and grassroots as mine. People can bitch and complain all they want. I've got the receipts. 396 shows worth over a year worth of receipts and shows. 4 streams for the big phone homes. Just in live streams.
By the way, I'd said 40 hours. The stream was choppy a little bit there. But I had done just in live streams. I did 40 hours, a full work week in just live streaming. That's just the show. That's not the organization, planning, and everything that goes behind doing 40 hours worth of back to 8-hour section live streams. Some 10, some 12. When I say 40 hours, it was probably closer to 50.
I don't know how else I could say this. I don't know how I could articulate, and I don't think there is. I don't think there's any way, no matter in which order I put it or how I present it, if you think I'm a backstabber, if you think I'm a traitor, I don't know if there's any saving you. I want to show you guys something. And I'm going to tell you to pay attention.
This is relevant today.
I'm going to show you here.
This is super relevant
today. This is a
today.
thank you letter. A thank you note to Skyfort. That was penned by Sean Cahill. And there's a list here of people he thanks.
And I'm going to go over that list right now. Senator Harry Reid, Lue Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, Dr. Gary Nolan, Dean Alioto, George Knapp, followed by Craig Labadie, who his name has come up quite a bit here in the last week, because Craig Labadie was the guy doing the dirty work for Sean Cahill behind the scenes. And here's a direct link to him directly connected to Sean Cahill. The guy, Bob Pliskin, that I've mentioned over the last couple of episodes on Twitter, he goes by the handle Bob Pliskin. His real name is Sean Munger, Esquire. And boy, see what happens when you Google that name. I had to call him out on that Google search when he threatened to curb stomp Mick West. Robert Powell, the SCU. Daniel Zetterstrom. Graham Rendell. Chris Sharp, their mouthpiece. Chris Sharp from Liberation Times. Adam Goldsack. Vinnie Adams, Annie McGrillen, and Dave Partridge. These are all the UAP Media UK guys. These are all the guys that I called out after the Big Phone Home 3. And these are all the guys that are making, except for Vinnie Adams, Dave Partridge, and Adam Goldsack, and maybe Graham. Graham does have 2 books with a forward written by Sean Cahill, but I know for sure Danny and Andy are making some good fucking money. Really good money. And then he goes on, Dave Scott, Daniel Otis, Dave Rossi. And this is where it pissed me off. Thomas Fessler and Rob Heatherly. But it's funny, Dave Scott, Daniel Otis, and Dave Rossi, I believe definitely Dave Scott. I know Daniel Otis had brush-ups with this Canadian Parliament effort that Sean Cahill eventually undercut and backstabbed Dave Scott. But instead of Dave Scott coming out and telling everybody what happened with the Canadian Parliament meeting, he shut the fuck up and just continued his show as if nothing happened. And the reason why I know about that Parliament meeting is because Dave Scott, Grant Cameron, and Nicole Sackich called me scared out of their fucking wits because Sean Cahill was pulling some bullshit on a presentation to Canadian Parliament, and they wanted to compare notes to what happened to the big phone home. Please keep asking Dave Scott, what the fuck happened with that? What exactly happened? He won't want to talk about it, I fucking promise you. Because he knows if he actually tells the truth of what happened in that meeting, that Sean Cahill will be fucking pissed, and you can bet your ass he will never get another interview with Cahill, Elizondo, or anyone in that camp. This guy's name has come up quite a bit, Craig Labadie. I believe he's the guy who was facilitating information to Gary Nolan about certain people in the community, along with King Milkfart and uplifting tweets. Again, like, dude, we've said these guys' names so many fucking times, yet there they are in our spaces and in our discussions pretending to be good guys. But this is what really just fucking pissed me off, man, was this right here. Thomas Fessler and Rob Heatherly, the guy who helped blackmail me and leaked details of my personal messages with Lue Elizondo, and the fucking cesspool bottom feeder that is Thomas Fessler. Like, this thank you letter was a thank you letter to the people who helped with UAP grassroots efforts. Thomas Fessler had nothing to fucking do with that. My name should be in here. Even if he doesn't fucking like me, my name should definitely be in here because I've done more work than all of these motherfuckers combined. With exception to maybe the task force, the scientific SCU, and MUFON. Only just because they've been around longer and they've got more people on their staffs. But every other asshole above that, I've outworked all of them. All of them. For the people out there, like me, who have in some cases refused work to cover this topic, have missed out on family time to cover this topic when things happen, who has devoted hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours toward. And also, let me just really quickly include that Sean Munger Esquire, after you Google what he's done, that was the guy giving me wellness calls and asking me to not quit the show because I was making so much money before I did the evisceration episode. And I was getting the same phone call from Marieke von Klompenstick. Just got to throw that in there because those are also weird fucking things to happen at this point of this fucking saga. Why are people from former military members calling me to see how I'm doing? You're not my fucking friend. I don't know who the fuck you are. And did you give Lue Elizondo this wellness check phone call too? Asking him why he's got the attorney that he has? Or why he decided to fucking blackmail me through Richard Butt? Did you call him and ask him and see how he's doing? There's no answer to that. Of course not. Because he was sent by Lue to come fucking check on me. Try to talk me out of doing these last two shows. Which again, All the shows that I referenced today are available and live right now if you are a YouTube member of this channel. So become a member and you can watch all of this stuff, man. You can get all the context you need. Public disclosure and grassroots efforts to contact people like you and get more clarity and data on this discussion. My question for you, Senator, is what do you say to people like me who are devoting this much time to this discussion? Am someone like me going to be satisfied? Can Matt Laszlo ask this fucking question to a senator, please? With the data that comes out of this office, this quote, state-of-the-art office that is being built as we speak. Usually when state-of-the-art is thrown around with the Department of Defense, the budget starts with a B. What do you say to people in a community that have a propensity, again, to believe things like Pizzagate, in a community that does have a lot of mental illness? What are you saying to them? What are they going to get? Are they going to be satisfied with the answers that the Aero office provides? Somebody needs to ask a senator that question. Matt Laszlo. Because I believe no one is going to get what they want out of this discussion within the UFO Twitter community. You're not going to get bodies. You're not going to get a crash retrieval program. You're not going to get metamaterials. You're not going to get a dissected body with video. There's been no reverse engineering of this stuff. As far as I'm concerned, it's our tech. I've wasted my time these last 2 years. And that's a hard pill to swallow. Just love how all of these people call me drama and how much they hate drama. But look at you all here. It's almost 500 of you here. You love this shit. You live for it. This is exactly what you need between the drips of terrible information. It's a drug for you guys. And I'm pulling the needle out. This has been a really frustrating week. And I wanted to continue. There was nothing more I wanted than to burn this entire community to the ground. Because I've been watching all of you. All of you. I watch all of you. And I've seen you all pile on. You've taken the opportunity to show how you really feel about me and about the show. That's fine. I don't know what else to say. I don't know how else I can warn you. I don't know how loud I need to scream. I don't know how many bodies you need in the wake of this madness. I don't know how many people you guys need to see turn on a dime before you realize something is not right. That holds true today. Everything I just said here has turned out to be right. The slow drips of terrible information filled in between with drama and bullshit and spaces. Something's not right. Still, that holds true. Swink McCloud.
$10 donation. This show's been success just because my enjoyment of science from UCR has increased via you guys. Rather, Mataluni, Avi, Invisible Night School, Laurel Coons, etc. I appreciate that. And I've been getting a lot of messages like this too. Swink. You're not the only one. And this is honestly, this is the hardest part for me to walk away from, because I feel guilty having added to this madness. And now I feel an obligation in a lot of ways to help people to be that cold bucket of water, like Stephen Greenstreet is trying to be, like Keith Clore is trying to be, like John Greenwald's trying to be.
I don't think you have anything to be ashamed. I think that you probably, got more people to critically think by allowing, open questions and asking questions.
Maybe, but I also think I got a lot of people to not think critically and not ask the right questions. That's,
you guys wonder why I come the way I do in some of these spaces, like why I show up with the attitude that I have. I'd love to see you go through this for 2 years and see what you sound like at the end of it. But more importantly, I'd love to see what you do when you're tempted with the things I was tempted with. Like, we had an intelligence guy the other day in a space said, if I had just shut up, if I just played ball, I would be writing the foreword to Lue Elizondo's new book. They're in our spaces, and they're still spewing this fucking bullshit. And you guys are being manipulated and strung along like fucking puppets. I saw a guy yesterday, Brian, what's his last name? It's not his real name, but yeah, just trying to fucking have rational conversations. It was rational. Brian Johnson. He did like a 15-hour space yesterday. Just every time I checked in, it was just the same thing over and over and over again. And just refuses to look at anything logical when it comes to the discussion. Throwing a lot of theories out there. It sounds very much like an intelligence guy. He sounds just like all of the intelligence guys that I've spoken to in this discussion. There's so many intelligence guys in these spaces just spewing bullshit. And I don't know why. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I don't know if they're manipulating people or if they are just people within our military that have crazy beliefs. I really don't know. Honestly, neither one would shock me.
That's where my guilt comes from. But like my brother said, I got to let go of that.
You can't.
I don't owe you guys anything. I don't owe anybody anything. I've given you my heart and my soul. I've given you guys all of me. And you put it through a grinder and you made sausages out of it. And now you eat the sausages. You guys enjoy the picnic. I'm out here. I don't owe you guys anything, but again, I mean, my new videos and my new direction will be making sure that I'm trying to undo the damage that I think I've done. And I got to tell you, this sucks.
Like, I feel bad for me.
I just listened to a couple of Elizondo interviews from
that was
way back,
the worst,
and,
man.
What struck me is, he said several times about how we need to have honest, open, discussions. We should even let the skeptics, even if we think they're wrong, we should hear them out and engage them and be respectful to them. And really that's how the view I had of Elizondo. I thought he is bringing light to the issue. The hero that we all needed, and I mean the turning point for me was realizing that he was faceless bureaucrat, that sock puppet account, who was privately and semi-publicly doing the exact opposite of what he espoused publicly. And I think ever since he stopped using that sock puppet, Lue Elizondo publicly has kind of embraced that darker side of himself, the faceless bureaucrat side, and they seem to be doing that kind of egging on skeptics.
Like Richard Butt.
And they're doing it kind of openly too. Cahill and all these people, Gary Nolan now, just not having a respectful conversation, but just piling on to skeptics and not being open to real legitimate questions.
Right. But also not answering for the crazy shit that's coming out of their mouths.
I was gonna say, you might be wrong on what you think that the phenomenon is and what all these events are, but you're not wrong about how you've been treated by Lue Elizondo, Richard Butt, and how they've been manipulating you and making the community lash out at you. You're justified in how you're feeling.
Yeah, that's the show, you guys. I want to say thank you to everybody. Obviously, my two co-hosts here. You guys have been absolute rocks. The commitment that it took to do this show as many times as we did has been awe-inspiring, that you guys have stuck with it and have done it for free and do it because of the same reasons I wanted to do it. And so I can't thank you enough. I mean, all my thanks goes to you guys, and also Michael Mataluni, who really helps the show become what it is. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, thanks for putting the show on. It was great fun talking to you and Jane and Michael and all the guests. It was a blast.
Tommy Lito or Tommy Zito still on the line. Oh my god, that'd be great if he was. I want to say thank you to every single subscriber out there for being on this journey, taking it with us. It was a really fun ride for a long time until the last 5 months. It stopped being fun. It became something different, something that I want to separate myself from, and I'm sorry. I never wanted this to end like this, and like I said, we'll be continuing in our own ways, but that's not going to be for a little while. Want to say thank you to every single person that has ever donated $1 to this show. When Michelle got hurt, those super chats and those dollars helped me stay home with her for 4 months while she was in bed. And it was the most popular time of the show. And it was when the show helped me the most. The community helped me the most. And I will never forget that. That was some of the worst moments of my life. And this show was a welcome distraction every week from that. I want to say thank you to Bill, our producer, KGRADB. They took us on the show, and Martin Willis for putting our name in the hat to do this show. I felt really bad just leaving KGRADB hanging. That wasn't my intention. But I appreciate the platform and doing the show for those guys out there. So I appreciate that. I want to say thank you to Alex Garcia, who really helped us put together a lot of the visuals and the branding behind UCR in the show. So thank you for all of that help that you did with that. Want to say thank you. Want to say thank you to Lue Elizondo. Thank you. This was cool, but you're a scary dude. And want to thank everybody out there. I'm gonna miss people. My mom, my sister, my girlfriend. Without her, this show would not have been possible. Without a doubt, you guys owe a lot to Michelle for doing this show. She's helped so much. And she's also seen everything that I'm talking about, or that I've laid out for you guys here in the last 2 episodes. Trying to think of who else I can thank. I mean, obviously, all of the guests that have been on the show that have helped us grow this show, all the friends that we made, all the people who stabbed us in the back. Thank you. A lot of lessons were learned. Yeah, sucks. Never thought it would end this way. My recommendation, settle down. Don't jump on everybody so fast, especially when it disagrees with your belief system, because you guys are running out every single person that is trying to be on your side. Indeed.
Hear, hear.
All right, I'm going to take you guys off screen. I'll see you backstage if you want to hang out there. And yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for coming aboard, getting weird with us here on the last episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review, your former home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UAPs and UFOs. Don't be mad at me, you guys. Listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. That's it. Have a wonderful weekend. I love you all. Peace.
And so that's it, guys. That's everything. You know, that's the whole timeline. In the order of things. And it sucked, man. It really sucked. Like, it still sucks now. Like, I viscerally, it makes me sad. You know, because it was such a fun time, such a fun show. But it doesn't make me too sad, because what has sort of risen from the ashes is a phoenix. The lemonade that I'm making out of these lemons, you guys are going to shit yourselves. You're going to shit yourselves when you find out what I've been doing for the last year and who I've been talking to, whose house I sat in for an hour explaining everything that just happened to me. It's going to be the tastiest, sweetest lemonade for me. And here's the part that you guys are going to hate the most. And when I say you guys, I don't mean the audience that loves me. You guys are going to love this fucking lemonade. I already know that. But the people who hate this show are going to be forced to drink this lemonade, and they're going to love it. They might not admit it, but they're going to love it. You guys are going to love this project I'm working on. I'm bursting at the seams, and I'm trying to manage my expectations. But the things that have been happening, especially in the last 3 weeks, I can't wait. And don't be sad for me. Be happy for me. Because getting out of this cult was the best thing that ever happened to me. And it's opened the door to take my work ethic and my good intentions, and has allowed me to pour it into things that are going to pay me infinitely more dividends than anything UFO Twitter could ever do for me. Ever. And it's a success that I would not be embarrassed to talk about. Even in the height of UCR, I had never wanted to do a UFO convention, primarily because I never wanted my face on a shitty UFO poster with a whole bunch of other white people, you know, selling bullshit. And so for some people in this community, that is the dream. I've got higher, bigger, way loftier dreams than you guys. And if the 4 big phone homes that I organized don't show you that I can fucking work, then you really were not a fan of my show, or you just weren't paying attention and you underestimated me. And all of the people in these, you know, spaces and people who are fucking don't like me or for whatever their reasons are, most of the reasons are because I'm not afraid to call you assholes out. Not afraid at all. And I will continue to do it through this show. I will continue to do it through our spaces, which, by the way, we have one on Wednesday with, I believe, Matthew. Are you still here? Matthew Wright was going to show up, but I don't think he can. I think it's going to be Jeff Knox, but we're going to go over the UFO lore, the history. We're going to deep dive into the rarest books, and we're going to explain how we get from lore to spaces where people are saying these things are facts. We're going to have a clinical psychologist on the show in the next week or two talking to us about CE5 and why people see things when they do CE5 and they go through the protocols. On Friday, we're going to have this wonderful Twitter personality. I don't know who this person is, but she goes by the name of Krishley, and she's a VFX artist and 2D, 3D animator. Sometimes people pay me, which is cool. So she's a special effects animator. And I'm going to include her link right now in the chat. Guys, go follow her because she's doing the best debunk videos on Ashton Forbes right now, just destroying his fucking world. And I love it. I love it because I don't like liars, and I don't like when liars take advantage of a group of believers. So again, we're going to continue to highlight those things. We're going to make these spaces in this venue so good that they're going to have to come because there's nowhere else to go at that time to do their bullshit. I've done it once. So I'm going to fucking do it again. I'm going to do both things. I'm going to create art and some exciting things. And then I'm also going to continue with this show. So there you go. I just want to say real quick before we get out of here, because I know I missed a lot of stuff, guys, through the chats. So thank you for just being cool with that. I know we had a lot of super chats today, so I want to say thank you to Pat Calabria. I want to say thank you to UFO Soldier. I want to say thank you to Carl Gustav and Matt Danger and Carl Gustav again. Compliziert also had a couple of donations in there, so thank you for that as well, my brother. Yeah, that is the show, everyone. With that said, thank you so damn much for watching this show. We had a lot of people in here today, and I'm sure we're going to get a lot of hate, just like we did the first time when we did this show. Again, check out, consider becoming a member of this channel. With that, you will get access to all of these episodes that I just talked about today, plus one more. So if you want to see, again, the history of that, we've also got free UCR episodes in the UCR playlist. Everything else is going to be free, but there are going to be episodes put behind a paywall, because guess what? I've earned it. I've earned it. If you want to see those most popular shows, you're going to have to become a member of the show. And if you can't become a member, email me. Maybe we could work something out. I don't know if there's ways I can do it from the YouTube end of things, but if there is an episode that you absolutely must have and I can facilitate that for you, I will try. But I can't fill every request. So, this is the thing I think I've earned. Never put a paywall ever on this show's history. But with this stuff, the things that people want to see from the past, they're going to have to get through a paywall, and they're going to have an understanding that all of that stuff is pseudoscience. Some of those things will be released for free, but not all. So I might change my mind on that. It's not something set in stone, But yeah. Anyway, guys, don't forget to like, share, smack that subscribe button, smack the bell. That way you're notified anytime we go live. We went really long today. And so for that, I apologize to everyone, including my girlfriend. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to take my time with this one and really lay out the timeline and make it crystal clear what happened to me. Because there's a lot of new people that come into this community that have no clue who I am and what I've done and what I brought to the table and the shoes I used to sit in versus the shoes I'm in now. And I know all of your arguments. I know exactly what you're going to say every time we debate. There are no good answers for my questions, and that's what you hate the most. And I know what those questions are because those are the same ones that stump me. So I'll see you on that UFO battlefield. Anyway, guys, once again, thank you for embarking on this journey of discovery together. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and thank you for subscribing to Lue Reviews. Until Wednesday for our space, have a great rest of your week, and then we'll see you again on Friday where we debunk Ashton Forbes for the billionth time. Have a great night, guys. Peace out.